Well, a new intro for a new round of the 2024 GPVWC Formula Sprint 1 Series. Hello and welcome to the 10th round of the season, where we are heading to the Hockenheim ring in Germany, a track much beloved by drivers and fans alike, whether it's on the current layout or the old layout that blasted through the woods. As always in Formula Sprint 1, 2 races to look forward to tonight, 33 laps for race 1 and then 22 laps for our reverse grid race number 2 with Remco de Zeeuw on the cameras. My name is Ross McIntyre and alongside me is the always fantastic Edward Hunter. Ed, pleasure to be here alongside you. It's been a very exciting season so far. We've just got started in this qualifying session. What can we expect coming into this one?
Oh, cheers, Ross. That might be about the nicest thing you've ever said to me. In an intro,
ignoring the insults before the broadcast, but yes. You know.
I'll enjoy it while it lasts. So, yeah, we're back, of course, 10th round of the season, as you say. Mike Quinn, our points leader in the Drivers' Championship, had to give Silverstone a miss, but he is back for Multiforce, and he's back with a 33-point lead. So I think a lot of people are expecting Ivanov cut more into that lead than he did, but unfortunately there was a collision with, I believe it was Andrzejewski and Ivanov's teammate Tom Saverly. There was a bit of a bunching together at the Vale chicane, and Ivanov lost out, dropped to 13th with only 3 laps to go, and couldn't recover any ground. So he didn't get as many points out of race 2 as I think he would have really hoped for, which is great news for Mike Quinn because he's still more than a race win now ahead of his nearest championship rival. But of course, in the team's championship, it's still very close as well. Netrex GP, who yet to win a race this season, but they've still got plenty of podiums. Watson adding another to his tally in race 1 last time out. They are on 386 points with Multiforce on 362, of course. So Netrek still doing exactly what they need to do, and even on whenever they Multiforce don't have a spectacular weekend, of course they had to get Jason Muscat to fill in for Mike Quint last time, but they were still able to get some decent points out of both drivers in both races. So Multiforce very much still at the heart of this championship fight. And we can't forget about MS as well, because Savalli got his first podium of the season in race 2 last time out at Silverstone. So the New Zealander is on something of a high as well. So lots of different narratives, lots of drivers really starting to pick up the pace as we get to the second phase of this season.
Absolutely. Looks like Victor Ivanov setting the early fast laps in this qualifying session, but not everyone has set a lap so far. A 19.2 is the time to be. We're expecting the pole position time to be around a 1:19 dead. So expect the lap times to get quicker, especially as the track rubbers in. We do have some big news, though. Quite literally breaking news. Shimon Frelick, the winningest driver this season, has had to drop out just moments before the race. A broken brake pedal load cell. So a big shame there for Shimon. Quite literally breaking news. So unfortunately, only 25 cars in this event. A bit too late to organise a replacement over there. So a big shame for Shimon. He'll be sitting out this one after his last 3 rounds. An amazing streak, 4 wins in 6 races, despite a disconnect in race 2 at Silverstone last time out. So he'll be watching this one from the sidelines. That is a big shame. And you talked a bit about Netrek's Grand Prix there for a moment, Ed, in the Constructors table. It's fortunate, despite the fact they're leading the Constructors Championship at the moment, they're the only kind of real front-running team who haven't actually had a race win yet. Consistency is key, of course, but Harry Watson, or Amari Watson and Harry Smith even, been picking up the podiums, but not a win in sight for either of them so far. So maybe today is the day one of them can get onto that top spot. Harry Smith was looking very, very quick in the practice session just before we went live on the broadcast. So we'll wait and see if he's got the pace here today at Hockenheim, be it in race 1 or race number 2. Although there's some cloud cover over, it is quite warm out there. A 27 degree ambient temperature, track temperature of 47 degrees. It is very, very warm there. Tyres could be the aim of the game, trying to make those tyres last in the heat. We'll wait and see, as there we do see Amari Watson on his first flying lap. What can the Netrex driver do? He's a little bit off in the opening sector, coming through to the middle sector now and into the Mercedes corner, or the Mercedes section, should I call it. Annoyingly not called the stadium section, because there's another stadium section around here, which is, yeah, work that one out. But he continues onwards regardless. Looks very good through the second sector. What can he do as he comes into the stadium section now? Probably the trickiest corner of the track here at the Sachs curve. So easy to get it wrong, but lots of lines through there as well with the banked corner. Murray Watson, last few corners now, of course, very slippy in the wet, not too bad in the dry as he heads through this curve, runs onto the curb. What's it going to be for Watson? Crosses the line, goes P3 with 2 purple sectors, less than a tenth away from Ivanov and Magnussen in P1 and P2. But Andrew Yuski goes into P5, again 2 purple sectors there as well. So lots of drivers at the moment, Ed, in the early phase of this qualifying session, able to bring up 1, maybe 2 purple sectors, just unable to string the lap together yet.
Yeah, it is a bit of a weird one, Hockenheim, because it's a relatively short lap, but like you say, you've got the sort of first 2 sectors, which are, aside from the hairpin, mostly pretty quick, and then it all sort of tightens up in that final sector as well. It was even more extreme with the older version, the pre-Tilke version of Hockenheim, which stretched off into the forest and was really only broken up by a handful of chicanes here and there, of course. But yeah, of course, originally Hockenheim was a test track essentially for Mercedes-Benz for their sort of road cars and prototypes, essentially. As we see Federico Risa going very, very wide through, I think that must be turn 10 there, just into the Mobile 1 corner in the sort of the stadium section, as you say. So Alpha Delta, another of those teams yet to win a race this season, although they both drivers do have a handful of podiums to their name. But yeah, that headline time from Magnussen early on, only 4 thousandths behind Ivanov. That's put him in a pretty good shape in his substitute drive for HTP, just ahead of Omari Watson as well, as we look at Luke Mitchell moving himself up, the reigning FS2 champion, up to P9.
Yeah, great stuff there from Luke Mitchell. A solid lap time. I mean, you can see just how close the field spread is there, as Harry Smith goes to pole position, a 119.182. First driver into the 119.1's a lovely lap there from him. He was looking rapid and rambunctious in the practice sessions, so we'll see what he can do. Ivanov was on a good lap there, but unable to quite string it together in the final sector, so closes in ever so slightly. Mike Quint now championship leader for Multiforce, heading out, sets a purple first sector, missed the last round at Silverstone, so the championship gap has come down just a little bit at 33 points, currently back to Viktor Ivanov in P2. Quint will be looking to try and extend that championship lead heading into Hockenheim here. Coming through the Mercedes section, now into the right-hander that leads you back onto the part of Hockenheim that has remained here since the very early days of the circuit. Not a great middle sector. Quint, of course, will have plenty of time to go again, and it's really not a great final sector either, as he runs big time into the gravel coming through the Mobile 1 curve. So I think we will see him complete the lap. Actually, no, we won't. He's going to dive straight in. I was thinking maybe he might come in and just try and set a banker, see where it would put him, but decides just to head back out for another attempt. Massimiliano Raboli for Pixelate Esports, also not a great middle sector. Another mistake there. He'll be diving back in as well. Almost every driver has set a lap, apart from Rozchak, who has yet to come out. Robin Merling for Rookie Monsters. What can he do? Purple first sector, green in the middle. Flies his way through the Sud curve, comes out onto the main straight, looking a little bit sketchy out of the final corner, but crosses the line up into P6. A little bit of time left on the table. It just shows how close it is in Formula Sprint 1 this year. Down to 10th, covered by less than 0.3 of a second. Amari Watson currently P4. He set a purple sector 1. I think what we're seeing at the moment is different setups coming into play, because we're seeing the likes of Amari Watson being very, very quick in sector 1, where it's less about downforce, more about that top speed as you head through the Parabolica, which is barely even a corner in a modern Formula car. And now you've got the tight and twisty middle sector. We'll wait and see what his split time is, and indeed he is down just a little bit, although it is green. So I think maybe just differences in setup coming into play here.
Yeah, it was a tidy lap for Robin Milling, the Rookie Monsters driver, of course, home race for the German, so that 119.3 should put him in good stead. Andrzejewski is setting a purple middle sector there in the Parallax Volpinos. We look at Watson coming towards the line. What can Omari do here? Fourth on the grid at the moment behind Patrick Magnussen, and he remains fourth, just a 10th off of his best lap here as Andrzejewski, the Polish driver, going into the pits. So he clearly made a little mistake or felt that the lap wasn't really coming to him in that final sector there, as Magnussen is just about keeping it within track limits there, but you saw he had to have a little correction on the exit of turn 1 there, and that could already have compromised his run here.
Potentially, we shall wait and see. As he comes onto the Parabolica at this point, it's hope the exit is good enough. Hope the drag gods aren't too harsh on you. Federico Russo for Alpha Delta Racing, purple first sector. We're seeing a lot of purple first sectors at the moment with a little over 4 minutes left in his qualifying session. Let's see how he does into the Mercedes arena. Looking pretty tidy through the left-hander. A very, very awkward corner coming through there. You're almost flat out at the right-hand kink just before it. And then you've got a brake turn in. It's a much tighter corner. Then you realise it was yellow through the middle sector for Russo. So he's going to need a monster final sector if he wants to improve on his current lap time that leaves him lying in P8 as it stands. Into the Sud curve we go, and he's going to abandon the lap, decides against it. He does have time for 1, maybe 2 more laps if he's very, very quick. Viktor Ivanov now, wow, what a first sector that is. 2/10 clear of everybody else from the MS Performance driver, currently sat second on the grid. What can he do making his way out of the Mercedes arena? We'll wait and see what the split is. It's green, lost him a little bit of time. It still looks good. I do apologise. It was actually 1/10 down. I thought it was 2 in the first sector. It was 2. Mike Quint has gone quicker.
Second.
Good spot there, Ed Hunter. So what can Viktor Ivanov do as Mike Quint is split through? Harry Smith is currently on the provisional pole with a 119.073. Viktor Ivanov decided to abandon the lap. He wants to wait for that last chance gasp when the track will be at its absolute finest. So we'll wait and see. Of course, a private qualifying session, as always, here in GPVWC. Even though the track does rubber in, the trap gets quicker and quicker. It's best to leave it till the latest moments. even though you are not facing any other drivers out on circuit. It's essentially a glorified time attack. Just you and the road. No traffic to contend with, no slipstream getting involved. As Menno Klont makes his way, that looks absolutely rapid heading through the Mobile 1 curve, but the lap time may stay otherwise. Looking about 3.5 tenths down at the moment is Menno Klont. On his personal best as well. I think he might be abandoning this one, and indeed he is. Tries to take out the bollard there for good measure. Harry Smith, purple first sector, yellow middle sector, dives in. He's also going to go for one last attempt. Again, it's a very short lap time here at Hockenheim. 1 minute 19 is the pole time at the moment, so you can leave it till very, very late in order to come out and set your final challenge. Robin Merling, what can he do for Rookie Monsters? Currently lying P9. A green middle sector. Looks like it should be an improvement on his lap. Let's see what he can do as Roshak finally sets his first lap of the session, moves into P12. He should have time for another one. Actually, I don't think he will unless he's setting 2 straight laps in a row. What can Robin Merling do then? Round the Sud curve. And he will have time for another push lap if he so fancies it. If the tyres have what it takes, Robin Merling moves up to P7 at 119.329. It's crunch time now in qualifying, Ed. Everyone's going to be out for their last laps. Can anyone topple Harry Smith? He's a 10th clear at the top of the standings at the moment.
Yeah, he's really carrying through that form, as you say, that he put into the practice session as well. His fastest lap was he's already gone faster than that, hasn't he? By about exactly a 10th. And Omari Watson was second fastest in the hot laps as well. So certainly Netrex with a very, very good setup for qualifying here. We'll have to see if it pays off in the race as well. And it's very likely that MS Performance and Victor Ivanov are running a very, very similar setup as well, because we know those two teams with Harry Smith owning MS Performance work very, very close. But here comes Omari, just under 50 seconds left on the clock. And looks like this might be his final effort then, Ross.
It will be. He's already set one lap. He's going to try to go for another push. Let's see if the tyres have what it takes. What does Victor Ivanov have? It was a good first sector. It looks bad because it's yellow, but it was a 1/4 of a tenth off of his personal best. So Ivanov is still absolutely on the money. Of course, we don't get a live delta, but we do get delta on the splits. So it just adds to the tension as we watch along. And it is purple in Sector 2. The lap time is up. Ivanov into the Sachs curve. It has to be inch perfect from Ivanov. The MS Performance driver, a handful of corners to go, snakes his way around into the Sud curve, looking very, very fast. The car looking a bit rear happy, but it shouldn't hold him up too much. To the line, Victor Ivanov, what is he going to do? He does get pole. What a lap from Victor Ivanov by 1/2 tenth of a second to take pole position. Harry Smith still on a lap, though, in the Netrex car. Again, 8 thousandths down in the first sector. It's so tight, misses the apex slightly at the Mercedes arena, but that will give him a bit more of a punch, a bit more speed out onto this little back straight, and it is up as well in the middle sector. It's going to be very, very tight for the pole position. Gets it very wrong. Heading out of the Mobile 1 curve. Does Harry Smith have anything in his locker, or has that ruined his opportunity to get onto pole position for race 1 here at Hockenheim? The Sud curve to go, and he abandons the lap. Harry Smith doesn't have anything left. Frank Hamming could have something left as he comes to the line. What has Frank Hamming got as he crosses the line, goes into P5? Drama late on in this qualifying session. Can Patrick Magnussen do anything as he comes to the line? He will stay P4 even with an improvement on the lap time. I think that is going to be it for our laps here as Lucas Thielen currently down P18. A disappointing qualifying for Lucas Thielen. He can only go into P11. He'll be disappointed with that one. As I was saying though, Ed, real drama late on in this qualifying session. Victor Ivanov at the death has snuck onto pole in race number 1.
Yeah, not the first time he's pulled that off, has the Bulgarian, but Ivanov really showing the form that we thought had kind of abandoned him in the last couple of events. Spain, Austria, Silverstone did not really go to plan for him. And now it seems he's back, and he's got a brilliant chance with Simon Frelich out of the way to take his first victory since, it would have to be China back in April, essentially. So, yeah, Harry Smith just losing out on pole there, and Mike Quinn in third, still trying to limit any damage that Ivanov can do in the championship. So we got 3 very, very quick drivers on the front 2 rows.
We do indeed. What a late piece of drama that we have just seen there. It will be Victor Ivanov starting from the pole position. Alongside him, Harry Smith. Mike Quint starts third for Malta Force. A great qualifying result for him, with Patrick Magnussen fourth and Frank Hamming in P5. Tom Satherley completes the third row with Amari Watson in P7. He'll be looking to try and move forward in race number 1. He's alongside Robin Merling, and it's an Alpha Delta lockout for the 5th row of the grid. Mirko Licini and Federico Russo rounding out your top 10. Further down, Lucas Stylin's 11th with Pavel Andrzejewski in P12. Massimiliano Riboli is 13th with Patrick Rochak. Didn't set a lap time for quite a long time in that qualifying session. He'll start 14th in race number 1. Melo Klon is 15th alongside Luke Mitchell in P16. Philip Koenig is 17th with Masej Heiler in 18th. Onik Vilhalksig is P19, and Daniel Scott rounds out our top 20 drivers. We do have 5 more again. No Shimon Frelich this evening. Jack Nichols, though, he starts P21 for Kings Racing alongside Maciej Kozałowski. Jonas Karula is P23 alongside Bradley Sellers, and David DeVries is our last driver on the grid. A little bit of time off of Sellers there for DeVries. He'll be looking to try and impress in the race for VMS Sun Edits Racing. The drivers then making their way out for the warm-up session. 10 minutes to go in this one before we get going with our race number 1. Some drivers like to take this quite seriously, make sure the tyre pressures are all dialed in, make sure everything is working on the sim rig. Some drivers like to not even go hard at all. Some drivers like to crash into each other. It's very much a free personal game. The one thing that is allowed in this session that is not allowed in the other sessions, though, you are allowed to escape back to the pit lane. You are allowed to hit the escape key on your keyboard, which in R-Factor 2 teleports you back to the pit lane. If you do that in qualifying or either of the races, that is a DNF. You are not allowed to rejoin the circuit. Hello and welcome, if you are just joining us, to the next round of the Formula Sprint 1 series here in GPVWC. The 10th round brings us to Hockenheim, and it is an absolute pleasure to bring you all of the action of both of the races here tonight as we get our second half of the season well and truly underway. Myself, Ross McIntyre, Edward Hunter alongside me, and Remco Zeeuw on the cameras, bringing you all of the action from tonight. And it's sure to be an exciting one. It's been a dramatic season so far. It's been a dramatic last few rounds. Again, the race winner 4 times out of the last 6 races, and 5 times on the podium. Shimon Frelich is not here this evening, dropped out just 10 minutes before we went live after a broken load cell on his brake pedal. A real shame for him, but that opens up lots of opportunities again. He's the winningest driver this season, Ed. Someone that, had he been available for all the rounds in this championship, you'd think would surely be well on his way to maybe get involved in that championship fight, but he's just unfortunately not been able to turn up at all of the rounds, so he's a little bit down in the championship. Waiting to see what the drivers can do without him. Mike Quint will definitely be someone who we're on board with now, who will be looking to try and maximise his points from this weekend. Again, a maximum of 45 points on offer. Missing the last round at Silverstone, the championship gap down to Victor Ivanov currently sits at 33 points. Do you feel like Mike Quint maybe has something to prove, or is there maybe a little bit of pressure now on him from Ivanov now that the championship is a little bit closer?
Maybe. I think arguably, though, more of the pressure is on Ivanov, who is, like I said, not won since race 1 in Shanghai. Significant, which was, of course, round 4 in the season. They're now on round 10. So, yeah, I think Mike Quint was probably expecting to go here with a much reduced gap, because you would have expected Ivanov to be on the podium in both rounds at Silverstone. Unfortunately, he was only able to do it in the first race, with that second place to Frelich. Yeah, Frelich, of course, hitting lots of bad luck, and I think the main issue for him early in the season was that he basically had exams at school, effectively, that ruled him out of the first half of the season beyond, because he just wouldn't have had the free time to practice anyway, which of course is a key part of this. We talked, of course, for the rookies, the warm-up is important. It's a big part of their practice. For some of the more experienced drivers, it's just, like you say, they either stay in the pits or they do it just to make sure they're absolutely confident and ready to get out there on full fuel tanks, and make sure they're not completely missing their braking points on the first lap. So there's a little bit of adjustment from quali mode to race mode, as we see Mike Quint immediately in race mode going side by side with one of the Lunarks. So yeah, I don't think Mike Quint will be feeling any more pressure than usual. Of course, first race back from having missed a race, there's always a little bit of, you need to get back on the bike and resume that form as much as possible. But yeah, I think Ivanov the man behind in the championship, starting on pole position. It's really all in his court, so he knows exactly what he has to do. And it's just a matter of executing a brilliant strategy, which we've seen MS Performance do before. And Ivanov just needs to hope that he can keep it clean from pole position and keep Smith and Quint at bay.
Absolutely. Interesting thing you mentioned there about getting used to the car on full fuel loads. Watching on board and qualifying, a lot of the drivers really taking some of the curbs very, very hard. And here at Hockenheim, the curbs can be very aggressive. There's lots of really big sausage curbs as well. And at the start of the race, your car naturally sits a lot lower than it does during your flying laps in qualifying because you've got cold tyres. Though the tyre pressures are lower, so there's, they're a bit more deflated, but as well, you've got a heavier car due to that fuel tank of fuel, which again weighs the car down. So maybe the curbs could be catching out a few drivers there. They can be very aggressive. And of course, as always in sim racing, no disrespect to any of the drivers here in FS1 or anyone indeed in GPVWC. And as I say that, Eunice Karula goes for a spin. The first lap in sim racing can be chaotic, shall we say, on occasions. So we'll have to see how they negotiate that one, both in race number 1 and race number 2. Luke Mitchell taking the scenic route. I think he may have forgot the fact that Hockenheim updated its layout in 2003, because that was the old racetrack before you got down into the stadium section, and not quite the right way to go. Here's Amari Watson though. A bit of a disappointing qualifying there for Watson in the Netrex car. Not an absolute disaster, but I think just a little bit further down than he would have liked. He'll be trying to make his way forward. But we know Amari's got a lot of pace. We know he's a very, very quick driver, a very, very handy driver. Lots of podiums so far throughout this season. Again, suffering alongside Netrex teammate Harry Smith, and that hasn't picked up a race win so far. But yeah, just not the ideal qualifying for Amari. He'll be looking to try and move forward. But again, it was very, very tight in qualifying. Super, super close out there. Just shows how good of a field this is here in Formula Sprint 1. Of course, the third tier of GPVWC sim racing. If this is your first time watching along here at GPVWC, hello and welcome. This is, of course, Formula Sprint 1, the 10th round here at the Hockenheim ring that you're tuning into. 2 races to look forward to tonight. Make sure that you head over to the website, gpvwc.com, to find more about how to get involved. And you can click on the Discord description on the bottom as well if you fancy putting yourself against some of the very best sim racers on R Factor 2. And, just get involved with a nice community as well. Everyone here is lovely. We really don't bite. Mario Watson, though, currently sitting P4 in this warm-up session. Frank Hamming looking very, very fast, a 121.151. That's only 2 seconds. And a little bit off of the qualifying pole time. So maybe Frank Hamming looking a little bit pacey coming into this one. Maybe he knows something that we don't. Time will tell, but could be very, very interesting heading forward. So as we wait for the clock to tick down, 3 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. Edward Hunter, what's the game plan heading into race 1? And who do you fancy maybe to be standing on the top step of the podium at the end of it?
You can just call me Ed Ross, that's what everyone calls me. But
I'm trying to make it sound more impressive, more formal.
Okay, more formal, right, yeah. It was, speaking of HGP, it was a very impressive qualifying, not just from Magnussen, who of course is not a full-timer. He's only done a couple of FS1 races to qualify fourth ahead of Frank Hamming, who infamously tends to go a lot better in the races than in qualifying. He tends to qualify outside the top 10 and then work his way up. This is promising for the Dutchman. To be that high up already, and ahead of Tom Savley and Omari Watson, who are both very, very talented drivers, of course. And you mentioned earlier, Watson will be feeling a bit disappointed with that P7. It may even be the case that Omari is going to start to shift his focus to sort of race 2, and where it's basically reverse grid pole somewhere between a 5th and 10th, essentially. So those are the positions that everyone is going to be wanting to fight their way into. Lucas Phelan, of course, the race 2 king, who's won a couple of race 2s already this season, most notably Silverstone last time out, where he did a great defensive job against Harry Smith and a couple others as well. So Phelan just outside the top 10. He'll be needing to make a good start to pass Russo and Lucchini in the Alpha Deltas. So lots of big stories going on, but if HGP can get a good score out of this, that could really make a big difference in the team's table, where they are on 303 points. They're only about 23 points behind MS Performance as well. So HGP very much in play in the battle for third.
Could be very, very interesting indeed heading into this one. Yellow flag out in Sector 1. Again, it's a warm-up session, so it doesn't really matter if someone's smashed into a barrier and broken several bones in their body. Of course, you can't quite do that in sim racing. You can. To be fair, I've seen drivers maybe occasionally pick up an injury and accidents, from the wheel ruining its way out of their hands or something like that. But of course, luckily in sim racing, you never suffer any serious injuries apart from maybe to your talent if you have a big one. As Patrick Magnussen getting involved in a bit of a ding-dong there. Just want to give a quick shout-out to Robin Merling, currently down in P11. At his home race, leading the charge for the German drivers. He'll be looking for a solid result today. Currently sat in the pit lane though. But again, 2 races to look forward to. We've got the reverse grid as well. Of course, the reverse grid number, as always, pulled out of a hat. So we don't know who's going to be sitting on pole position for race 2 until we get to race 2. It just makes it that little bit more exciting. And makes it a bit more exciting as well further down the order when the likes fighting from 10th to 15th. Just makes it just a little bit more interesting, a little bit more exciting. Maximum of 47 points available this weekend. Of course, 25 points available for a win in race 1, 20 points available for a win in race 2, and then 2 fastest lap points on offer both for race 1 and race 2, or should I say 1 fastest lap point available in each of the races. So you can really make some ground up in the championship if someone in front of you has a bad weekend. Checkered flag is out in this qualifying, a warm-up session, should I say. Qualifying ended some 10 minutes ago. So it's almost time to go out onto the track and to go racing. Frank Hamming leads the warm-up session at 121.151. Is that maybe an insight into who's going to be quick in the racing? Time will tell. Massage Heiler decides that, you know what, going straight on seems like a better option than turning left at the Mercedes arena, and makes his way into the pits. As a result, again, one of the other beauties of sim racing is there's no crash damage that takes hours to be repaired, and it doesn't cost anything either. A new front wing on an FS1, a similar car to FS1 in real world motorsports, you'd be looking at a few tens of thousands of euros, to put it politely. So you can just smash up your car and move on with it in the warm-up session, but
don't
check your flag out. Well, at least it's not costing people money. Hey Ed, time to go racing in just a short moment's time. If you're just joining us, you've missed a very exciting qualifying session. Frank Hamming sitting fastest in the warm-up. Sitting on pole position though is Victor Ivanov. What can he do? What can Harry Smith do? Starting alongside him in the 33 laps of the Hockenheim ring here in race number 1. You'll see the cars awkwardly shuffling their way out onto the grid in just a moment before the formation lap. And then it is 5 red lights. They go out and we go racing. It's a tricky circuit to race at here, the Hockenheim, Ed. What does it take for a driver to really kind of nail it in a race?
Yeah, well, it's... I would say the best overtaking spot is probably that long run through turn 5, the parabolica, into the hairpin turn 6, where there's a lot of different lines you can take. Essentially, we saw some interesting ones in FS2 on Tuesday, but to put it mildly, but yeah, certainly you can try and sort of go in from the outside and duck underneath someone, or you can sort of on the alternative, you can try and sort of defend from the inside and go very, very tight, because there tends to be a little bit more grip on exit if you're coming from the inside, essentially, because you've got less turning to do effectively at that point from the apex. I think turn 2 can sometimes be an overtaking opportunity, particularly if you have a very good run out of turn 1. And then occasionally you do see moves out of the hairpin turn 6 go on into 7 and 8, the Mercedes-Benz little section as well. So yeah, there's a few different opportunities, but I think mainly it's going to be about not making too many mistakes and also keeping these tires alive, because especially at the end of race 1, we know they're going to be pit stops as well to get either people who started on the softs going to the hards, or people near the back who start on the hards switching to the softer compound near the end. So it'd be interesting to see if anybody on the alternate strategy can make good on that and make up places at the end, because you can make moves at Hockenheim.
Super League driver Carlos Martin heading into my DMs. He said he's expecting the pit window for the soft runners to be around about lap 10 to 14. So we'll wait and see how true that is. But thank you, Carlos, for that information. So it'll be a longer stint on the hards. Race 2 will expect it to be everyone on the hards just running all the way to the end. Should be doable, but again, it will be a little bit of a tyre management race. Hockenheim it's not the kindest to the tyres. You can get away with it, but it's it can just pull apart the rubber ever so slightly, and especially with the high track temperatures that we're seeing this evening. Again, currently sitting at around about 47 degrees Celsius. So tyre management in race 2 will be crucial. Race 1 will definitely be needed if you want to make your strategy work. But the drivers heading out on their formation lap now. A 25-car grid to look forward to this evening. Shall we run through the grid for race number 1? It will be Viktor Ivanov who starts on the pole position. Alongside him, Harry Smith in P2. Mike Quinn is third. And Patrick Magnussen for HGP Motorsport, he starts in P4. Further down the grid in P5, it is Frank Hamming, the other HGP car. Tom Satterley is 6th for MS Performance, and the 8th row, or the 4th row of the grid, should I say, is Amari Watson. He'll be looking to move forward alongside Roman Merling, the leading driver of the guys running their home race. Mirko Lucchini and Federico Russo round out the top 10, and Alpha Delta lock out of row 5. Lucas Nylin and Pavel Andrzejewski in P6. Or not in P6, P12 should I say. Massimiliano Riboli is 13th alongside Patrick Rozak. Menno Klont is 15th alongside Luke Mitchell for Lunark. 17th is Philip Koenig alongside Masaj Heiler. Owen Kvilhaugsvig is P19, and rounding out our top 20 is the other rookie monsters of Daniel Scott, who'll be looking to try and move forward in this one as well. Jack Nichols starts in 21st with Maciej Skazowski in 22nd. Eunice Karula is 23rd. And Bradley Sellers is 24th. And then on the next page, we'll see our lone 25th driver, who, well, unfortunately didn't have the greatest run in qualifying, but be trying to make his move forward anyway.
Worse than that, Ross. He's not even on the grid.
He's not even on the grid, is he? No, I've just noticed. I had a look at live timing, and he's not even made the grid. What a shame.
So he rejoined during the warm-up, but he didn't. So it looks like we're 2 cars down then before we even get started.
24 cars it is then, but that's not going to take away from any of the excitement. Heading through the final few corners now of the formation lap. Ed, who do you think's going to be fast? Who do you think's going to be on top?
You would expect Ivanov to control things from the front. He's very, very good at doing that if he can get into that position. But Harry Smith, he'll certainly race very, very cleanly because him and Ivanov are very, very good friends. Known each other for a long time at NetRex, but yeah, Harry still hasn't got that first win of the season. Will be desperate to get the monkey off of NetRex's back. And then you got Mike Quinn, who'll be looking to take advantage if they slip up. So this could be very, very interesting, especially actually if Mike Quinn is able to get past Harry Smith and fight Ivanov. We could be in for our 2 championship protagonists in combat with one another here at Hockenheim.
All the drivers then on the grid. Harry Smith sat quite far back in his pit box, very interestingly. So that could be something to watch out for, but we're waiting now for the 5 red lights. And then it'll be time for 33 laps here at Hockenheim. For the first race, it is lights out. We are underway. Great start there for Ivanov. Harry Smith didn't get away too well, but he will hold on to that second place. Down into turn number 1. Mike Quinn able to hold on to 4th as well. Looks all pretty clean through the opening corner as we make our way down into turn 2. And numbers 3 and 4 shortly following them afterwards as well. Patrick Magnussen, great start, gets up into 3rd place. Tom Satterley trying to get through the other HGP car as well. Look at the slipstream coming through the Parabolica, not even a corner in a modern Formula car, running 4-5 wide in the background. This could get interesting as they make their way into the hairpin curve for the first time, but still looks all clean. Satterley still side by side with that HGP. Unfortunately, ducks back in. Hamming will hold on to that 5th position. Ivanov already leads by 7/10 of a second up the front. Harry Smith in 2nd. Patrick Magnussen, though, great job to work his way up into 3rd place. All clean on the opening lap so far. Not a lot of changes for position, but some good racing on our hands already.
Yep, so Magnussen getting through, the Icelandic driver. That was not part of Mike Quinn's plan whatsoever. So we look at Jack Nichols currently in the back end of the points in a 14th position, just behind the 2 Parallax Alpinos of Andrzejewski and Patrick Rozak then. So Nichols looking a bit stronger than he has in his last couple of events, of course. Great to see him back behind the wheel. And he's just got Menno Klont right behind him then. So not the start that Menno would really have been hoping for. He needs to get as many points from Multiforce as possible. But yeah, Harry Smith so crucial because Magnussen looked like he was going to have a go at him as well. And at the moment, he's been able to hold an arm's length. So Quinn might be able to fight back from this, but Magnussen definitely the fly in the ointment and causing a bit of trouble for Mike Quint at the present moment. Even of perfect for him, he can just continue to control things up front, doesn't need to push these soft tyres too much. So at the moment, things are poised quite nicely for MS Performance, especially with Savily all over the back of Frank Hamming.
Savily tried to make the move happen on the opening lap as there was a big kick of dirt up in the background. I wonder if someone just took the hairpin a little bit too tightly there, ran onto the grass, but it doesn't look like anyone's gone round. No yellow flags out yet. But Savily did try and make the move work on the first lap on Hamming. Unfortunately, was just not quite able to make it stick, but they ran side by side for a very decent portion of the lap. So maybe Savily just backing off, sitting back, regrouping himself and trying to launch another attack over the coming laps, letting the race come to him, letting the car settle in, letting himself settle into the rhythm. Again, still early doors in this race, tyres and brakes maybe not quite up to the temperature that they would find optimal, but they won't be far off at now as we head on to the third lap of 33. Savily a little bit wide out there on turn number 1. That can really cause you problems there if you run out a little bit too wide at turn number 1. The AstroTurf is very, very slippy, and Hockenheim has some of those evil arrow ragged curbs things that try and make you run off the lap, stop you from running off the track. And then factor 2, if you clip one of those, they'll just send you into the barrier. So you do have to be very, very careful. Pavel Andrzejewski, meanwhile, maybe trying to launch a late dive bomb on Luka Thailand. No, decides to stay put for the time being. Everyone running very sensibly so far, which is great to see. Not launching any silly moves, but it is still very early in this race. Again, you can't win a race in the opening laps, but you can certainly lose it. Everyone happy just to run where they are for the time being and keep working hard. Ivanov starting to pull away from Harry Smith at the front. Quint, meanwhile, starting to close in on Patrick Magnussen. Can Mike Quint maybe try and find a way through, but he's also got Frank Hamming behind to contend with as well. In an HGP sandwich at the moment is the Multiforce driver. What can he do heading forward at Multiforce? A team that's been around here in GPVWC for, well, since forever, quite frankly. A real staple of 2011. There you go. Well remembered, Ed. They are a real staple of the FS1 grid and a team that always performs well. Mike Quint hoping to perform some more of that today and maybe step onto the podium in race number 1, heading into turn 2 on lap number 4. As it stands, though, it's all even Stevens really up the front, Ed. No one really trying to make a move, apart from Eunice Karula, who had a look there for P17, wasn't able to make it work.
Yeah, that's Owen Kilhausvik in the Seoul 100 to 1 that Ben Constantine's entered today. By the way, I did see we saw a little bit of action at the hairpin earlier. That was Menno Klunk getting past Jack Nichols for 14th position. So Jack Nichols also got passed by Riboli into turn 7 as well. So that's why he's dropped out of the points then. As we look at Filin, who himself, now he's got past Rozak. He's having a go at Andrzejewski as well. So he's picked off one Parallax Volpino, and now the second is just in front of him then. So Filin, who didn't have the greatest of starts, is starting to recover. Can the Super Sweep get into the top 10? Because that puts him in contention for that reverse grid pole draw. It's a reminder, it's, I believe, 6th to 10th then that you need to be in.
Time will tell who's going to be on pole position in race number 2. We've still got a lot of laps ahead of us here in race number 1. Lucas Thailand on board. Oh yeah, that's a great lap there from Frank Hamming. A point is available for fastest lap, and on that previous tour, that was a monster lap, wasn't it? Going through, so we'll wait and see what he can do, but pushing very, very hard as the HGP, trying to get in front of Mike Quint and maybe provide some rear gunnership to his teammate up in P3 at the moment. We can see there are only 3 drivers on the hards starting this race. That's Philip Koenig, Scott and Gazowski. So everyone else choosing to run the soft compound rubber away from the lights. So apart from those 3, we'll be seeing everyone diving into the pits. We're expecting from lap 10 to lap 14, maybe a little bit longer if people are being nice on their tyres. And it must be said, everyone looking to be running pretty standardly, pretty cautiously at the moment for most of the field. So maybe some tyre saving already going on early doors in this race. What can Frank Hamming do though as he tries to get to the back of Mike Quint? So far a little bit too far back to launch an attack, but he's slowly closing in, it seems. But over the middle sector, Quint is looking absolutely rapid, and he's closed right up to the back of Magnussen on this lap. Only 4 tenths separating those two now. having some 7/10 away from the Multiforce car in front. So it looks like the middle sector is Mike Quint's home turf as he runs a little bit wide out of the Sud curve. Maybe though over the opening sector and the last sector, the HGP cars feeling a little bit faster. Again, it's a track that is so rewarding in terms of getting the setup nailed, because there's so many different opportunities for getting the setup right. Talking of HGP, Magnussen is caught right up to the back of Smith, and Smith's actually lost a little bit of time. I wonder if Harry Smith has made a mistake somewhere, because Patrick Magnussen is all over the back of him right now and could maybe be launching a move down into the hairpin, certainly thinking about it, but not quite brave enough on the brakes. Mike Quint getting very close to the gearbox of the car in front. We've got a real battle
Harry Smith
brewing on our hands.
Harry's dropped out of DRS of Victor Ivanov. That's what's happened here. So I think Ivanov's just been able to drop him, essentially, because he was taking it a little bit easy the first couple laps, and now, as you alluded to, Ross, he's sort of started to up the ante ever so slightly. Last lap, 121.6, so a couple of tenths quicker than Harry Smith then, and a slightly faster Magnussen too, who's chasing him down. But yeah, Mike Quint senses the advantage he's got over Magnussen is that Magnussen very quick in qualifying, but he might not necessarily have the tyre preservation that he does in FS2. Of course, Magnussen is the championship leader in FS2. At FS1, a different car, a different ball game. It requires slightly different driving style. So Magnussen adapting well so far, but the real test is going to come towards the end of his stint when there's a lot less grip to play with, and that might be where Mike Quint will sense an opportunity to get through. As we see, actually, Harry Smith has fought back ever so slightly and clawed just outside DRS activation windows. We look at Jack Nichols, who's fallen into more difficulties here as he goes into the final corner.
Yeah, just hooked the sausage curb and then the front end bit, and that's Jack Nichols very much out of the race. A big fireball there as he backs into the barrier, just caught the sausage curb. And when he tried to save it, coming back onto the circuit, the front end bit, and it sent him down and out of race number 1. He will, of course, get another opportunity in race number 2. But that's a real shame for Jack Nichols, not the way that he wanted his evening to start off. Lap 7 then of 33. And it's still getting very interesting up the front. Of course, we know that MS and Netrex, they've got a pretty good working relationship away from the racetrack. Of course, when you're on the racetrack, the old saying goes, you've got no friends, it's all about you. And not even your teammate can really get involved. Of course, team bosses would like to differ, and obviously everyone likes a good teammate working relationship, but it's all really for the drivers about you and what you can do. But away from the track, MS and Netrex, there are two teams that have a pretty handy relationship, and so is HGP and Multiforce. So maybe we've got some, as Massage Heiler goes for a bit of a spin there. That looks to be coming down into the Sachs curve. Indeed it is. So that's a spin coming out of the Mobile 1 curve. A big shame there, and Heiler looks like he's really struggling there. Tyres maybe overheating after that half spin that sent him off the racetrack. As I was saying, could get very interesting up the front. Is Magnussen close enough for a move this time? I don't think he will be. He's dropped back just a little bit over the previous few laps. Look at how good Mike Quint is on the brakes coming into the hairpin. He just closes up all of the time and then some. I tell you what, Magnussen really needs to be worried, because if Quint's close enough down into the hairpin, you know that the Multiforce driver is probably going to be having a look, because he is looking absolutely mighty on the brake pedal.
He is, but I would say worrying is probably the worst thing that Patrick Magnussen could do at this point. I would actually go with the mentality that I'm not fighting for the lead of the championship, whereas Mike Quint is. So Quint tries to make a risky move and it doesn't pay off. It's Quint that's got the most to lose here, so he can't afford to just dive from miles back and hope that Magnussen doesn't turn in. He's got to be very careful the way that he plans out this move and executes it then. So it's going to rely potentially on a mistake from Magnussen as they're all going as wide as they can out of the final corner without losing control on the AstroTurf there. So yeah, I think Magnussen, there's no need to panic just yet. The other thing you've got to worry about is track limits, especially at turn 1. It's so easy to dip all 4 wheels off track, and then if you do it enough times and gain enough of an advantage out of it, you can get a drive-through penalty because of that. So someone like Magnussen definitely needs to be on top of that, but even the top contenders could be caught out by that today, so keep your eyes on that. As for Hiller, I believe there might have been an incident with Bradley Sellers as well, because I think he dropped to the back just before we saw Hiller go off into the gravel there, and it looks like Massiage is putting on a fresh set of tyres on that KKR car.
Indeed he is. Just on board there with Mike Quinn. Very interesting to see the different lines that himself and Patrick Magnussen are taking on the exit of turn 2 and into turn 3. Quinn prefers to hang it out wide, take a more, typical racing line that you'd expect and try and carry the speed through the mid-corner. Magnussen looked more keen to get the car more slowed into the mid-corner, get the rear rotated, and almost straight line it out of turn number 2 and into turn number 3. It'll cost him a little bit of speed on the exit of turn 2, but will be enable him to carry more speed out of turn number 3 and on into the Parabolica. So that's something to watch out for there. Very, very interesting. Again, Hockenheim is a track where you can take lots of different racing lines. It's quite wide around here. It's corners where lots of different opportunities are available. You can really kind of make your own way around it with whatever is comfortable. So interesting to see that between Quinn and Magnussen. We'll probably be seeing that here once again as they come through turn number 2 on lap number 10. And you can see there, that time, Quinn chose to take a more tighter line, maybe trying to copy Magnussen in front, but you could just about see Magnussen prone to hook it a bit more tight on the exit of turn 2. Get the rear rotated and straight line it, but this time Mike Quinn has got the overtake lined up and served to him on a silver plate. Mike Quinn up into 3rd place with a lovely move up the inside into the hairpin using the DRS. A great exit out of turn 2 and through turn 3, and that, well, it was as easy as they come. Textbook stuff. But Mike Quinn's been looking very, very hungry down into the hairpin, and now he'll be hungry for more. Up into the podium places in race 1 goes the Multiforce car. How much longer can this pace continue, though? Because looking at the lap count, Ed, we are now within the pit stop window. Who bites first out of this leading group?
Yeah, critical move for Mike Quinn because he could not afford to really be stuck behind Magnussen for much longer. I wondered if he might try and undercut to get past him and try and get in that fight with the 2 leaders. But it seems like he might not need to now. But yeah, the problem there was that Magnussen had DRS as well, so Mike Quinn had to use the slipstream, maybe even a little bit of fuel mix as well, just to make sure he got to the inside first for the hairpin, and from then on he could just control the inside line and dictate the pace through the corner there. So very, very well judged, and plenty of room left by Magnussen for his part as well. He wasn't going to push him off the road essentially to try and keep that podium. But yeah, HGP now got a tricky decision to make because Hamming is their title hopeful. Are they going to ask Magnussen to let him through here, or are they going to try and decide things in the pit lane? And Quinn is already having a go at the outside of Harry Smith here. So Smith struggling, and Mike Quinn cuts underneath him at the hairpin. Brilliant traction there.
Lovely, lovely stuff. But what can Quinn do still to the inside? Oh, neck and neck as they head into the Mercedes arena. Oh, look at Mike Quinn going. Harry Smith all over the back, squeezing Quinn over the curbs. Quinn really fancies moving on up because Harry Smith, how much more of this attacks can he hold behind? Quinn went for a look at the Mobil 1 curb, but that is not somewhere you can make an overtake. Smartly backs out of it, but Quinn is looking super, super racy at the moment. What a run this man is having over the opening part of this race. The championship leader looking to continue in his fight for the FS2 title in 2024. The Multiforce driver missed both of the races last time out at Silverstone. Hasn't had a race win since the reverse grid race at Spain. He wants to get back onto the top step of the podium, but right now he's very much in a podium position, dealing well with the pressure from behind, trying to get through on Harry Smith, but all of this fighting is costing them big time. Victor Rivanov up in front is now almost 3 seconds clear of second place on lap 12 of 33. Can Mike Quinn make it happen this time, trying to pull what he did on Patrick Magnussen? Smith holding the outside, Quinn to the inside. Does Quinn force him out? Yes, he does. A lovely little move there by Mike Quinn to get him up into second place. More textbook racing from Mike Quinn, but sometimes you just got to follow the rule book, and it pays dividends. The Multiforce driver, the championship leader, up into second place, but he's got a 3-second gap up to the race leader as we're beginning to head into the pit stops. We'll see what the pace is over the remainder of this race.
Crucial move for Multiforce as well in the team's championship. They needed to get Mike Quinn ahead of Harry Smith so they could have a hope of outscoring the 2 Netrexes there. Now that they've sandwiched them either side with Menotron still down in 14th, of course, it's all down to Mike Quinn to get the lion's share of the points in race 1. As into the pits comes Tom Saverly for MS Performance then. So he's the first to blink from 6th position then. And now the rest of the pack is going to respond to that. So lap 13, this is about where Carlos Martin was predicting these pit stops would happen, wasn't it? Between sort of 10 to 14 laps in the race.
Yeah, very, very exciting stuff there. Savily, the first of our leaders to bite the bullet and come in for MS Performance. The undercut can be pretty strong here at Hockenheim if you get out to clear air. And it looks like Savily has done just that, but as well, you've got to consider maybe that launches a chain reaction, or maybe the leaders feel they're happy staying out and continuing to go round. We'll have a look at what the lap time is for Savily when he gets his first proper lap in, but the lead is currently in the 22s and the 23s as Robin Merling currently fighting there with Andrzejewski. Andrzejewski gets through the rookie monster's car, almost making contact there, side by side. Oh, Andrzejewski, contact wheel to wheel. And the Parallax Volpino car goes off onto the runoff, luckily able to save it, luckily able to hold on to P9, but that wouldn't have done his worn tyres any good. And now he's under big pressure from Lucchini behind, who then runs off the road himself. Merling, I don't think, did anything wrong there, just a bit of a racing incident, but it has hurt Andrzejewski's chances in the Volpino car. He will drop back quite significantly, and that maybe, and as he does that, he dives into the pits. So does Lucchini. So we're seeing some drivers from the mid-pack starting to come in. Ivanov's last lap, we're keeping on the lap times, a 122.5. Mike Quinn's last lap, a 122 dead. Mike Quinn is starting to close that gap. We'll wait and see what lap times Tom Savily is doing again. This first lap of his won't be anything worth looking for because he's been into the pit lane. We've got a fair few drivers in. Patrick Magnussen in, Scott in. We've also got Raboli in. Posak is in. Kevil Haugsvig is also in. And Frank Hamming making his way past Harry Smith as well. I wonder if Harry Smith may be struggling with some real tyre wear. The pit lane is alive here at Hockenheim, and it's anybody's guess as to who's going to come in next, and more crucially, who's going to come out where. Tom Savily is the one we've got our eyes on. He came in P6. He's currently around about 27, 26 seconds behind the leaders. We'll wait and see where it comes up if Ivanov comes in this lap. Frank Hamming, though,
he was able to undercut Magnussen as well. So Magnussen pit a lap later than Savily. He was quite a couple of places ahead of Tom, and now Tom has been able to jump him as a result. And look, Ivanov's coming in as well from the lead, but Mike Quinn crucially stays out. He's trying to extend so he has fresher tyres in the second stint.
So Ivanov comes in from the race lead. I think he was struggling a little bit more with pace, definitely, compared to Quinn with tyres. We'll wait and see. His last lap was a 122.5. We'll wait and see where Savily's best lap is as Quinn or Ivanov starts to come out of the pit lane. And where will he come out? Looks like it's going to be around about P8. Or Ivanov comes into P7, should I say. Smith also in, as is Russo. And Savily should be looking to come out just in front of Harry Smith, and he does. Tom Savily has come out in front of Harry Smith and Patrick Magnussen as well, as we already said. So Savily executing that undercut wonderfully. It's gained him 2 positions there in the net race. Of course, he's got to go a little bit longer on those tyres, and he looks to make another position as well. Scott also came in, and Savily will be making his way through.
Scott started on harder tyres.
So oh no, he did start on hard tyres, you're correct. So
both started at the back of the grid, and look, he's just letting him through there because he's got nothing left to fight with at this phase, clearly.
Yeah, absolutely, Ed. Scott actually did start on the alternate strategy on the hard compound of rubber. So letting everyone through, whether that was on purpose or he just didn't have the grit, we're not entirely sure. Does Mike Quinn come in? Yes, he does. This is the one we have been waiting for. Surely Hamming will come in from P2. Watson as well from P3, expecting them all to come in. Mike Quinn into the pit box for his hard tyres. Amari Watson does not pit. Frank Hamming does. Currently, Ivanov is P7. Ideally, Frank Hamming would come out just in front of Savily or just behind Ivanov. But Savily, if he's able to come out in front of Mike Quinn, could play some real rear gunner for the other MS teammate, as there we see a lot of drivers coming into the pits as well. Lucas Thyland also in. Mike Quinn out to P4, so he's in front of Savily and just behind Ivanov. They are super, super tight. Ivanov did have a bit of traffic to contend with, but the gap visually looks around about a second, maybe a little bit less. And well, Quint's on the fresher tyres as well and looked to have the pace in that opening stint. Ivanov maybe under a bit of pressure, the gap at 1.2 seconds. After our pit stops on lap 16 to 33, Mike Quinn is flying at the moment. Magnussen looking for a move on Savily. nudges a wheel up the inside, still side by side. Sadly still has the position at the moment, but Magnussen isn't going to take no for an answer. Neck and neck heading into the right hand, and now the Mercedes arena. Sadly to the inside, Magnussen around the outside. This could be a wonderful move for Patrick Magnussen. Prime time stuff from the HGP driver. He makes his way up into P5. Teammate Frank Hamming trying to work his way through as well, and able to do so. But it will be Magnussen up to net P3. And Mike Quint right on the back of Ivanov, still waiting for Watson and Koenig to pit. Watson has actually just dived into the pits. I'm assuming Philip Koenig will be doing the same unless he started on the hards.
He did start on the hards.
He did start on the hards. So Ivanov in the net lead of the race. And Mike Quint is just behind him. This is going to get very, very interesting.
Yeah, it depends how long Koenig stays out, because obviously he's the leader of those on the alternate strategy. Hence why he's leading the race, because he hasn't stopped yet on the hards. As Mario Watson just emerges right in front of the Bill Zimvolpino of Andrzejewski, and just behind Russo then. So Watson is about where he was, and he's got much fresher tyres than all the drivers around him. It was very close, by the way, between Hamming and Magnussen on the way out the pits, but Magnussen not only just held off Hamming, his teammate, but also was able to clear Savily with that audacious move around the outside. Meanwhile, Mike Quint is just like 2 tenths quicker in the first sector than Ivanov ahead of him, and is now only 9 tenths behind, as Savily is still duking it away with both HGPs. Oh, be careful, Tom. That's not going to be easy on the inside. Frank Hamming again going around the outside just like his teammate did, and now he's got the inside for 9 and 10. So Savily loses another place, and now Harry Smith is going to have a go.
This is GPVWC at its brilliant best. Here in Formula Sprint 1, Harry Smith looks left, looks right, can't quite find the way through Savily. So far behind him, Russo, Watson, Andrzejewski and Merling, all super tight. A big train of cars starting to form. You couldn't fit a razor blade between any of them. And all one little mistake away from disaster, but putting in a performance like no other. Look how close it is now between the leaders. Koenig just in front of Ivanov, who's been held up, I think. And Mike Quint is right on the back of Ivanov with the DRS as well. This is where he's been superb, heading into the hairpin with the DRS on the brakes. Is this the move for the race? But they do have to deal with Koenig as well. Ivanov through, Quint
out of the way, surely, of Mike Quint as well. And Mike Quint not wasting any time. He just set the fastest lap of the race, by the way, 1:21.0, 4 tenths quicker than Victor Ivanov. Ivanov looking very vulnerable, as meanwhile Magnussen continues to squabble with Hamming, Savily, and now Smith, Russo, and Watson joining that battle as well. Meanwhile, a little bit low down, Owen Kilhausvik, 100-1, still looking for another point-scoring finish. They've only got 3 points to their name from Austria so far this season. Their battle with VMS to not pick up the wooden spoon, essentially. And Kilhausvik is 15th at the moment, just ahead of Massimiliano Riboli, holding on to that final point, as we see Russo going very wide through Mobile 1 and into Sachs curve there. So looks like everyone is really pushing in this second stint, none more so than Mike Quint, who's going for the lead here. And Ivanov is going to have to drive the widest MS Performance car you've ever seen. A bit of an improvement for Ivanov. He's a 10th quicker than Mike Quint last time around, as Koenig comes into the pits, which puts Magnussen back up to third.
Quint, of course, was held up by the traffic a little bit. Decided to play it safe and not try the dive bomb on the Bulgarian on the previous lap. And look at Ivanov already trying to break the toe, pulling all the way to the inside well before the Parabolica. Does Quint have anything in his locker this time? No traffic in sight, just the race lead on hand. No, Quint does not on this occasion. Decides he's just a little bit too far back. Maybe just trying to fill the mirrors of Ivanov. Maybe just trying and push Ivanov into a mistake, which I don't think is likely, knowing the caliber of a driver that Victor Ivanov is. But again, leading the race, the man second place in the drivers' table. In second place, the man with the pace, the championship leader. It is anybody's guess as to who's going to be on the top step of the podium in race 1 here at round 10 of the 2024 GPVWC Formula Sprint 1 Championship. What a race we have had so far, and it is all going to get better. Of course, another race to come after this one, the reverse grid race 2 to look forward to. Of course, pole position, or the reverse grid number, should I say, is pulled out of a hat, so we've got no idea who's going to be on pole heading into race 2, which adds to the excitement. Menno Klomp in the other Multiforce car, not quite having the same great race one as his teammate at the moment, struggling down at P16 at the moment. He didn't have the best qualifying, unfortunately. It's been a bit of a disappointing race for him, just struggling to, I think, make the car really connect, really get the car just to settle in, really struggling to find his rhythm. Currently stuck behind Owen Haugsvig and Massimiliano Riboli, so maybe Klont just maybe needs to take a few laps of sitting behind to try and find his way through. Here goes Frank Hamming, teammate on teammate action, and Hamming slides through the Dutchman, through on the Swede, Hamming through on Magnussen, and the HGP cars swapping places. I don't think that was team orders, but it must be said, Magnussen didn't exactly make it hard for Frank Hamming. Of course, when you have good team harmony, when the teams are working together, of course they'll have engineers in their ears telling them what's going on. You don't really want to fight your teammate. It's the #1 cardinal sin of motorsport. Never crash into your teammate as much as you hate them. Hamming and Magnussen, they definitely don't hate each other. The HGP camp is a very happy one, but Hamming sliding on through and up into the podium places and already trying to pull a little bit of a gap. So maybe Hamming just a bit more pace than Magnussen at this phase of the race. Amari Watson, meanwhile, currently in P8. Himself and Harry Smith. Well, Harry didn't have a great pit window, unfortunately. Drops back a little bit, heading through the pits. Of course, he was struggling at the end of the first stint. And then the pit stop was not the quickest, got undercut by a few drivers as well, by the likes of Sadlerly. Amari Watson running where we'd expect him to, given his current pace, but on the back of this train, maybe he's going to start to push a bit. Maybe he's got something in his locker, and the Netrex guys can continue. Of course, they were looking for a race win heading into this race one anyway at Hockenheim. I don't think that's going to materialise unless chaos ensues, but they may still have the pace for a podium, because the guys in P3, being Frank Hamming, Magnussen just in front as well, the HGP cars not too far in front, and with roughly 12 or 13 laps left in this race, it's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen over the remainder of the first race of the evening. Federico Russo, he's had a very good race so far, made his way up into P7. His Alpha Delta teammate, though, unfortunately not quite the same luck. Lucchini falling back to P11. We're seeing that quite a lot here, Ed, at the moment. Hockenheim, seemingly a track, unless you're a HGP, where one driver is seemingly getting a better rub of the green, a bit more luck and a bit more pace than the other one.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a team thing, because we go a lot of teams share setups with each other and things like that. I think it might necessarily just be that some drivers just getting the most out of the car and track combination at the present moment in time. We see that a couple of tracks this season that there tends to be your Ivanovs and your Quints that are a little bit faster than your Menno Klonts and your Tom Savalys. Although Savally having a very good race in 5th at the moment, holding off Harry Smith quite comfortably, and could still be a threat to Patrick and Magnussen in the battle for 4th. Meanwhile, it gets worse for Menno Klont as we look at Savally diving to the outside of Magnussen in the hairpin, which is what I was literally just talking about. But Magnussen saw that one coming from a mile away, forced Savally to the outside, and Tom Savally, the Kiwi driver, who I mistakenly said still lived in New Zealand, but he actually is residing in the UK, once again just showing his nose to the outside, and actually that disadvantages him into Mercedes-Benz and puts Harry Smith back into the box seats then, but it's going to be difficult to dive up the inside into Mobile. There's barely enough room for one car, let alone two, through that corner, unless you want one of the cars to go on the gravel. What I was going to say was that Menno Klont, it gets worse for him, because behind is Philip Koenig, who's just pit onto the soft tyre 3 laps ago, and it has been setting fastest laps of the race, 120.9 and then 121.5 last time around. So he's within DRS range now, so Koenig could be on to steal the final point here from Menno Klont, which would be a big disappointment for Motorforce.
It would indeed. But there's still time left in this race, and of course race 2 to come as well with that reverse grid, so still plenty to play for here at the Hockenheim ring. As Philip Koenig making his way around, following Menno Klont, is he maybe able to try and find his way through? Both of them with a DRS. Oh, Koenig gave it a big look there. That was probably more a mental move, just trying to fill the mirrors of Klont in the front rather than an actual go. But it was still a look nonetheless. Meanwhile, Mike Quint still all over the gearbox of Viktor Ivanov. Still trying to find his way through. Still trying to see if he can extend that championship lead, even if only by a handful of points. If they finish as they do, the gap would go down to 28 points in Quint's favour. Currently at 33 points. If they finish the other way around, we would go up to 38 points. And of course, let's not forget race number 2 that we've got later. Even more points on offer. The championship in Formula Sprint 1 can change on a dime. And it so often does, because what a series this is. Some of the best racing on offer, not just in GPVWC, but in sim racing in general. And right now, we've got some of the best racing on offer in sim racing in general as Quint continues to hunt down Ivanov. Can the hunter become the hunted? Can he find a way through? Using that DRS, of course, Ivanov will have none as they make their way around the parabolic. And look at the warp speed, 290 kilometers an hour there for Mike Quint. Ivanov going defensive. That looked to be the right move, squeezing Mike Quint to the outside. Quint unable to make the switchback work. Viktor Ivanov is on full defensive mode right now, Ed, doing everything in his power to hold the multi-force car behind.
Yeah, and they're both still lapping quicker than Frank Hamming behind, so it is really... as long as they don't take each other out, there isn't too much threat from HGP as Riboli is still finding way of Owen Kilhausvik, who's doing a fantastic job for 100 to 1 as Riboli slides the rears out on exit there, and that could allow Menocont and Philip Koenig to challenge him then. So Kilhausvik's doing really well to make Riboli just wear out his tyres, driving pretty defensively, slightly slower than the drivers behind him, but there's a big 8-second gap to Luca Filan ahead, so Kilhausvik running the race to the best of his ability and using the tyres incredibly smartly here to try and get more crucial points for the rookie 100 to 1 team, who desperately need every little micro point and half point they can get their hands on in their battle at the bottom end of the championship. But Koenig, meanwhile, the only Griffon, his job is to get through on those fresh soft tyres, but that advantage won't remain forever, so he needs to really put Menocont under pressure, as you were alluding to earlier, as we see Gazowski near the back of the pack falling to 20th.
Absolutely. It's going very, very quickly, this race. So many laps have just flown by as a yellow flag briefly out in sector number 3. What's happened here is someone maybe run into some trouble. Yeah, Kerala, that's coming into the Mobile 1 curve. We've seen some people struggling here. We've seen Kerala struggling through here today as well. Oh, that's a very strange place to lose the rear of the car. Heading into the corner. Just turns in the rear. Turned in too much. Very, very bizarre. Kerala still able to continue round. That'll be the reason for the yellow flag, though. And Kerala does come into the pits. Could be a fresh shed of rubber. Could be a double DNF for Kings Racing. We'll wait and see. Mike Quint has dropped back a few tenths of a second over this previous lap. So maybe just making a mistake or deciding to drop back. Maybe regroup before he goes on the attack once again. But let's see what he does. There is Kerala coming out of the pit lane. Of course, he would have got a blue flag if he came out in front of our race leaders. But nothing yet for him there. The race leaders able to sail on by with a little care in the world for the lap traffic behind them. Quint 5 tenths back. I think that'll be a little bit too far back to make a move. But Quint has also been amazing onto the brakes. And Ivanov as well has been super, super defensive. But looking at the gap visually does indeed look too big. And indeed it is. Quint will just hold on to that second place for the time being, but the laps are starting to run out. And we're starting to think Mike Quint has got to be thinking about making the move sooner rather than later. What's his tyres like? What's Ivanov's tyres like? You know, who's got the ability to go through? Of course, it's one thing to be faster than the driver in front. It's another thing to catch them. Both drivers last time running in the 21.5s. Ivanov a fraction faster, but there really is nothing in it at this phase of the race. Meanwhile, Tom Savali in P5 still on the back of the HGP cars. Massimiliano Riboli is all over the back of Phil Haugsvig, but unable to make a move into the Mercedes arena. Phil Haugsvig may be struggling a little bit here as Riboli tries to negotiate his way through. As always, Ed, battles everywhere you look.
Yeah, I would say racing a way through might be a little bit easier than negotiating, because I imagine negotiations with Owen Kilhausvik would be, Owen, can you let me through? And then Owen would say a very short and concise no. But but anyway, yeah, Riboli really starting to put the pressure on. And Kilhausvik, as a rookie, when we've interviewed him previously, and he's one of the very few drivers that always interviews us, or is interviewed by us, he has always said that he's really been worried about trying to get on top of this time management. So he's done well with that so far, as Mike Quint actually gets a really strong exit there. But unfortunately, Ivanov is so slow at the apex that the Mulder Force has got nowhere to go, really, as we look at Russo just coasting up to the back of Harry Smith then. So he's done well to keep Watson at bay, has Russo. And now he's trying to go for the second Netrex of Smith then. So Netrex, not a spectacular run for them so far, but they're still looking to sort of limit the damage that Mike Quint can do to them in that team's championship. As here's what's happened to Menno Klont.
Yeah, what has happened to Menno Klont coming into turn number 2 and a touch from behind. A little half spin. That shouldn't be any damage, I don't think, as getting back onto track, have to take avoiding action there, someone, but Menno Klont, and letting him back through. Very, very respectful there to let Menno Klont back through. Knows there was a mistake, but a big shame there for Menno Klont. And well, that is not what you want to see. But again, respectful racing, letting Klont back through, which is great to see. I believe that was Scott or Koenig, even should I say, that led him through there. Harry Smith, meanwhile, P6, still in the hunt for Satherley. Harry Smith, unfortunately, the race not quite going his way. Really struggled at the back end of the first stint. And in this one, just the pace not quite where he wanted it to be. Has the DRS though, but so does Satherley in front. So I won't expect there to be a move down into the hairpin. And indeed there won't be. Look at the gap, that is a mile. Quite frankly, even for someone on good as the brakes as maybe Mike Quint down into that turn. So he'll have to hold position for the time being. It's become a bit of a train here at the moment. Almost a bit of who blinks first. And as the laps tick away, the pressure will be starting to mount. We'll be starting to think, has anyone got anything up their sleeve to maybe try and gain a place or two? But you've also got to think the likes of Andrzejewski, maybe towards the back of this train, you might be starting to think about maybe let's have a think about the reverse grid. And maybe, Philip Koenig, this could be a great move to the outside of Menno Klont. Klont gets a little bit squirrely, and Koenig with a great move round the outside of the Mercedes arena. It's been a real overtaking hotspot so far this evening. And Philip Koenig this time gets it completely. Quint's through, but he's gone too deep down into turn 2. That is going to compromise his exit, going to compromise his straight line speed, but he's going to be so close. He's going to have the DRS. Maybe, Ed, this is the time he gets through.
Yeah, so there was a little opening, he had to go for it, and now he's going to try and go around the outside of Ivanov at the hairpin. Ivanov goes as deep as he dares, holds on to that lead, but can he get the exit here? Mike Quint is still going to be nipping all over his rear wing then as they go downhill towards turn 7, towards the Mercedes corner. Mike Quint, is he going to be able to force an opening up the inside? Yes, he is, but Ivanov is still there on the outside, and that gives him the inside for turns 8 and 9. But Mike Quint just majestically sweeps all around the outside. They're still side by side as they go into Mobil 1 corner, and surely he's got to let him back through. Indeed he does. So Mike Quint had just a small think of, I got to hold on to this championship here, and decided to just relent, give it another go at passing Ivanov. But what an intense lap that was.
Super racing there. Aggressive, but very, very fair. Mike Quint and Viktor Ivanov showing ultimate respect out on the racetrack and pushing each other to the absolute limits. Lap 30 of 33. Race 1 is nearing its conclusion here at the Hockenheim ring. Does Quint have anything this time? He got the move down into turn 2 briefly on the previous tour. This time decides against it. He wants to try once again into the parabolica, into the hairpin. 0.3 of a second is the gap as they go into the parabolica, into the DRS zone. DRS flat will be open on Quint using that slipstream. Ivanov darts to the inside. Quint tries to get as much slipstream as he has. Forced to go the long way round once again. Ivanov with a superb defensive maneuver to hold on to that place. And Quint will have to slot back into second, but does he have anything in his locker once again? Into the Mercedes arena, almost bump drafting Ivanov. Still side by side. Oh, Mike Quint, this would be majestic. Banging wheels as they go. Mike Quint takes the lead of the race with a brilliant move through the Mercedes arena, and with a handful of laps left to go, he's worked for it and he's made his way into the lead. How does Ivanov respond?
We'll have to see what he's got, but he's got a lap holder tyres as well. I think that might be it for Viktor Ivanov, unless there's some traffic ahead or Mike Quint makes an unforced error. But yeah, he just seemed so much more confident. Apart from the start already, Mike Quint has absolutely aced this race. He even gained a lot of time despite staying out a lap longer on his sort of in-lap compared to Victor Ivanov, and that was really what set up that move there. So let's see a replay of poor Bradley Sellers near the back of the field. I think he has hit some serious trouble going into turn 1 then. Has he just spun it on the curb here? Oh, there we go. He just had a moment mid-corner, which is not ideal whatsoever, and the rear wing has parted company there.
Possibly the right rear as well. And yep, a DNF from race 1 for Bradley Sellers late on. That is a real shame for him. What a move that was by Mike Quint, though. It's not over yet. Ivanov's still very, very close. And it's not over in this battle either. Harry Smith looking to the inside of Satherley. Smith in the Netrex on the inside, on the brakes. Lovely stuff there. And oh, maybe having a look there is Russo trying to get through Satherley as well. Didn't lose 2 places in 1 corner, but could be losing 2 places in a handful. Federico Russo, the Alpha Delta car, looking left, looking right. The gap not appearing as it stands. But Satherley, really struggling at the moment. Russo thought he saw a gap, unable to come into fruition, but it was super tight. And look at Omari Watson as well, looking to maybe get involved as these two continue to fight. They're losing time, and the drivers behind will be watching intently, potentially hoping they take each other out, but if not, potentially hoping a sudden gap appears and they can slide on through. Sadly, though, holds on to 6th place. We're on the penultimate lap of race 1 now. This race has just flown by. Federico Russo still tailing Tom Satherley and will get a good heap of DRS because Harry Smith has just bolted away from Satherley. Of course, he was fighting with Russo, but looks like Satherley is holding everyone up a little bit. Russo to the inside, unable to make it work. That's probably the smart move because you want the DRS, you want the slipstream down through the parabolica. Look how close they are now. This has got to be a move done, surely. Russo already pulling to the outside. That outside will very quickly become the inside. Look at Omari Watson looking to make it 3 wide, maybe 4 wide as well in the background with Anvajewski. Omari Watson gets sideways, contact with Russo, but Omari Watson slides through, more contact in the background. It's chaos here late in the day. Watson up to 6th, 2 places in a corner with a bit of a slide job. Russo up into 7th. Satherley down to 8th, maybe 9th place as Andrzejewski tries to squeeze on by. That is wonderful from Pavel Andrzejewski in the Parallax Volpino car. Maybe Robert Merling trying to find a way through as well. It's going from bad to worse. Oh my goodness me, there is contact. Satherley sideways, collected by Merling. Well, what are we seeing here? My goodness me, he's gone top of Robin Merling. Into the gravel they go. 2 into Mobile, 1 doesn't go, and Satherley into the gravel, potentially out of the race. He got a bit of a lift there from Robin Merling, but as we're on the last lap of this race, Satherley looks like he might be beached in the gravel, and Tom Satherley, after a great race 1, is down and out. Goodness me, what a chaotic half a lap that was, as Omari Watson up into 6th, Russo up into 7th, Andrzejewski up into 8th. But our leader, though, Mike Quinn, he's a 2.5 to the good. He just needs to keep it on the black stuff. Still action elsewhere in the pack, but Ed, it's got to be Mike Quint's for the taking now.
It certainly has. He's doing a fantastic race, as we alluded to. And we look at Philip Koenig, now promoted to the final points paying position, but he wants 2 more. Riboli looks very, very vulnerable in these late stages. And for Satherley, he'd gone 2 laps earlier into the pits than anyone else around him, which is why he was struggling so much. And here we go, side by side. Koenig is going to try and go around the outside of Riboli's, complete the move before they get to the apex. And Menoclon desperate to snatch the final point away from Riboli, but he's going to run out of time here on the final lap as up ahead. Also, honourable mention to Kiel Hausvik doing a fantastic job to hold off Rozak for what would be his best ever result in 12th. But Mike Quinn has won here in Hockenheim to convincingly beat Victor Ivanov after a fantastic duel.
What a great race that was. What a race for Mike Quinn. What a drive for the championship leader. Ivanov, of course, some great defensive action from him. Hammond completes the podium as well. Patrick Magnussen makes an HGP 3-4. Harry Smith and Omari Watson and Netrex 5-6. Good result for them after an up and down race as the rest of the drivers making their way to the line. Koenig, unfortunately, not enough time left in this race 1 to make his way through. Kiel Hausvik as Menno Klont comes to the pit wall and thanks his virtual mechanics. A disappointing race for Klont, but P16 there in the end. But man, oh man, what a race 1. Drama from start to finish. Masej Heiler will finish in P20. And the last of our runners on the lead lap. Unfortunately, we did lose 3 cars on that one. Savily late in the race. Bradley Sellers and Jack Nichols as well going out. But my, oh my, that was what GPVWC is all about. We had chaos, drama, tension, and more importantly, some brilliant racing. And we get to do it all again in just a short moment's time with the reverse grid race 2.
Indeed we do, Russ. So no rest for the wicked, or non-wicked in this case. But look at Mike Quinn. Absolutely delighted with that. He's back exactly where he belongs. He's extended that championship lead. But of course, with race 2 still to come, there's every chance that Ivanov could fight back there. And it'll be interesting to see if anybody gambles on the softs and maybe decides to do a pit stop. Maybe whoever gets reverse grid pole might gamble on the softs. But of course, everyone who finished from 6th to 10th is going to be looking eagerly ahead of that draw. But here's confirmation then of the final results, Russ.
Mike Quinn takes a great win with Victor Ivanov in P2, Frank Hamming in P3, rounding out our podium. Patrick Magnussen was 4th, with Harry Smith and Amari Watson and Etrex P5 and P6. Federico Russo was 7th, with Pavel Andrzejewski in P8. Luca Thielen, great run from him to P9, with Mirko Lucchini, I believe, finishing exactly where he started in P10. And rounding out our top 10 drivers, P11, Robin Merling. Solid race from him with Owen Haugsvig in P12. Patrick Rozak was 13th with Philip Koenig in P14. Massimiliano Riboli was 15th with Menno Klont in P16. Daniel Scott was 17th with Luke Mitchell 18th. Maciej Gazowski 19th and Masej Heiler rounding out our opening 20 drivers here in race 1. Unfortunately, only one other finisher, Jonas Karula. And he's actually classified in P21 because he was a lap down. Tom Savily, I think, did more race distance, even though he DNF'd. Apparently, they're both 21st according to the table. But Tom Savily, DNF, Bradley Sellers, DNF, and Jack Nichols also a DNF, unfortunately. But that was an amazing race 1, wasn't it? What an absolute thrill we've just seen there, Ed. And again, a reverse grid race 2 to look forward to in just a few moments' time. Man, oh man, what a treat we're in for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a bit unfortunate that move from Robin Mulling. I saw Joe Gillette made a comment in chat. Is this how FS2 cars are born? Which I'm not sure has any basis in biology, by the way. But anyway, yeah, that was really unfortunate for Savily and Mulling because both would have been in the mix. But instead, Luca Thielen avoided the chaos and snuck in the 9th position, and Lucchini getting in there as well. So really, everyone from I think it's is it 5th to 10th or 6th to 10th? It's one of the two. But so certainly Netrex would be looking good for one of their drivers, potentially to start in the top 4 or 5. And for the likes of Andrzejewski yet to win, Luca Thielen, Russo, Lucchini, there's a big opportunities there. But a big result for HTP as well, for both Hamming and Magnussen. They worked together superbly well. And all that fighting between Quint and Ivanov, there's one point where Hamming gained like 2 seconds on both of them with 3 laps to go when they were really dueling it out for turn 2 essentially and holding each other up. So yeah, if that had gone on for a few laps longer, even though I've been able to do that, it could have been a three-way fight. But alas, Quint was just a bit too strong today, and we'll have to see how things play out come race 2. But looking very, very good for Multiforce so far.
It is indeed. What a race 1 we've just seen. Race 2 awaits us with the reverse grid. We're going to take a short break here on the broadcast while the drivers sort themselves out. So are we going to take a short break, or are we going straight into race number 2? I'm not entirely sure. I think we do take a short break. Yes, we are.
Usually
so we're going to take a
You can say if you want, Russ.
No. I mean, I saw the cars momentarily leave the pit lane, and I got confused. I thought they were heading straight out onto the grid, and I was a bit like, oh, maybe we're not. But we are going to take a short break here in the commentary box while everyone gets ready for race number 2. So we'll be back. Make sure you don't go anywhere. For sure to be another dynamite race. Welcome back to the 10th round of the 2024 Formula Sprint 1 Championship here at GPVWC, and you are joining us just in time for race number 2, the reverse grid sprint race. And well, it's not exactly a reverse grid because, of course, as always here at FS1, whatever number is going to be on pole for the reverse grid is drawn out of the hat, and that number was only 6. It's a Netrex 1-2 at the front of the grid. Amari Watson on pole from Harry Smith. Only the top 6 drivers are reversed. Everyone else will be starting where they finished race 1. With Remco de Zeeuw on the cameras, my name Ross McIntyre, Ed Hunter alongside me. Ed, that is a huge opportunity for starters for Netrex, being on a front row lockout heading into race 2, only 22 laps as well. But maybe some drivers, maybe the likes down, 9th, 10th, 11th, and those guys, they'll be feeling a little bit hurt from that one. They thought they may have had a good opportunity in a higher up starting position, and instead they've got to work their way through.
Yeah, indeed. You got to just feel a bit for the likes that finished just behind, such as Federico Russo in 7th, Andrzejewski in 8th, File in 9th, and Lucchini in 10th, who all sort of missed out and felt Filen especially has been the race 2 king this season, must be said. So he'll be feeling a little bit hard done by. But for the likes of Patrick Magnussen right behind, there's a great opportunity once more to remember he was giving Mike Quinn all that trouble in the first stint in race 1 as well, so that could happen again. But for Netrex, after they lost 4 points to Multiforce with Quint's win, they were 5th and 6th, of course, so they got 21 points, but 25 points for Mike Quinn alone made a big difference there, even though Menno Clont just missed out on the points. I shouldn't call him Menno Point, that's disrespectful. But yeah, so this is a big one for the team's championship, where the gap is now just 20 points. But of course, in the drivers, it's all going to be out of Ivanov and Quint making their way through from 5th and 6th on the grid, respectively. And Frank Hamming, he could also be a factor here too. So it's going to be difficult to predict how this one could go. But if Netrex are smart, they'll be able to manage this from the front row and control the pace. Maybe build a Netrex wall into that hairpin on the first lap.
We shall wait and see. The drivers are making their way out onto the grid. Once again, for this 22-lap sprint race, should be a straight run on the hard tyres, unless someone maybe fancies going soft. Of course, no pit stops are mandatory in this second sprint reverse grid race as they make their way out in the formation lap. We'll wait and see, but it should be straight running onto the hard compounded tyres from start to finish. 24 drivers line up on the grid, most of them where they finished in race number 1. But it's Amari Watson who starts on pole, and Netrex lockout with Harry Smith in P2, Patrick Magnussen in P3, and Frank Hamming in P4, a 3-4 lockout for HGP Motorsports. Talk about synchronization from those two teams. Victor Ivanov starts in P5 with race 1 winner and championship leader Mike Quinn in P6. Federico Russo is 7th with Pavel Andrzejewski in P8. Rounding out our top 10 is Luca Thylin and Mirko Lucchini, with hometown hero Robin Merling in P11 for Rookie Monsters, and the 100-to-1 car of Owen Kvilhaugsvig in P12. Further down the grid, we've got Patrick Rozak for Parallax Volpino in 13th alongside Philip Koenig. Massimiliano Ripoli is 15th with Menno Clont for Multiforce starting in P16. Daniel Scott is 17th with Luke Mitchell in P18. Baciusz Kozowski is 19th, and rounding out our top 20 is Yunus Karula, who was technically classified in 21st after that first race because he finished a lap down, but he didn't DNF. Tom Savalet is 21st with Bradley Sellers 22nd. David De Vries is 23rd, and looks like Jack Nichols will not be starting this race. So a 23-car grid heading into this one. Normally, in the reverse grid races, Ed, we get to see the front runners working their way through the pack and maybe a winner that we wouldn't expect, but all the front runners are up at the front of the grid again, so it could just be another straight fight for 22 laps.
Yeah, certainly, but if you're Mike Quinn, this still is a bigger obstacle to getting 2 wins in a row, because you've got 5 very, very quick drivers ahead of you, including Ivanov, who he struggled just about to get past at the end of that last stint. And just a note on the rear, a little bit lower down in the pack, Owen Kvilhaugsvig, that 12th place, and the points, the couple of points that came with it, of course, 4 points for that. That was his best finish, 100-to-1's best finish. That puts him ahead of VMS Sun Edits in the battle for 14th in the team's championship. So Ben Constantine was delighted to not be at the bottom of the table, because of course they had such a horrible start to the year, 100-to-1. It's great to see Kvilhaugsvig really applying what he's learned in the last couple of races to good effect, and who knows, there could be even more points coming his way if he has a decent race 2 here as well. But about to get going.
We are indeed. Only the top 6 reversed. Coming into this one, Amari Watson lies on the pole position, and Netrex front row lockout. Is this their best opportunity for a race win as we get underway here in race number 2? Watson, great start. Smith, also a great start. They hold the 1-2 down into turn 1 as it's all very, very close. Magnussen also holding on to P3, Hamming under big pressure already from Ivanov in the background, but the Networks guys trying to speed away already as Victor Ivanov gets a great start and will move up into P4 in the opening few corners. Here goes Frank Hamming. Can he manage to work his way back around the outside? Maybe into the inside, coming into the hairpin. Does look to the inside. Is he better on the brakes? No. Decides against it. Has to watch Mike Quinn on the outside, though, as Quinn just about holds on to P6. There was attack there on the inside from Andrzejewski in the Volpino car, but it ultimately came to naught. Here goes Ivanov trying to go for third, does get into third. Ivanov, what a great move that was to slide up into the Mercedes arena.
He's on the soft.
The pole sitter. Oh, he is on soft, isn't he? Victor Ivanov is started on the soft tyre. Now, this is not something that we expected. Victor Ivanov starts on the softs. He is going to have to make a pit stop in this race. Can he get far enough in front of the pack where that strategy pays off? Well, that completely changes things. Victor Ivanov up into third on the opening lap on the soft compound of rubber. I don't think it'll be long until he's in the lead of the race, but he does have to make a pit stop it.
Yeah, the thing is, we've said this before when Ivanov's gone on the softs in race 2, and we're like, surely he's got to make a pit stop, and he somehow coasted it to the end and come away with the podium. So I think he might be doing the same. And Filin is also on the soft. Here he is, going up the inside of Russo at turn 2, but Russo just holds his line around the outside and forces, or just leaves enough space for the KKR. But Filin looking very, very fired up as he goes to the inside at Parabolica. That's going to be the outside for the hairpin, side by side with the Alpha Delta then. How late is Luca Filin going to break here into that turn 6 hairpin? Answer, oh, very, very late, almost too late there, and almost Robin Mulling fancied a look at them as well. But Filin is just about able to complete the move around the outside there. So good stuff from the Swedish driver to get up to P8 then. But Hamming, meanwhile, this is not what he's been hoping for. Ivanov's going around the outside of him, and now he's got to hold off Mike Quinn for 5th.
Yeah, interesting stuff there. Oh, Luca Thylin trying to get squeeze on through, and he will do. Nice stuff there from Lucas Thylin up into 7th place. Maybe trying to have a look on the back of Mike Quinn as well, who's not been that quickly moving on the opening lap of this race as he was in the previous race. But is Thailand on softs as well? I believe he might be. So he is on soft. So a few drivers choosing to go for the soft compound of rubber early doors in this race and try and gamble on a pit stop round here. Maybe though, we've also got to remember, while you'll lose time in the pit lane, of course you get the benefits of having the softs at the start and then a fresh set of rubber later on in the race, while everyone else is on very, very worn, hard tyres. Amari Watson still leads this race from Harry Smith and P2. Where is Victor Ivanov? Not quite on the back of them just yet, but look at that. The front three have bolted away from the pack so far. Ivanov, though, needs to get a move on, needs to make his way through the Netrex cars if he wants to make this pit stop strategy work. Right now, sitting comfortably behind them as well, there's a big squabble back there. Philip Koenig looks like he's side by side with Rochak in front, unable to make it work. But certainly having a look, maybe has a look to the inside as well. Didn't quite work out, and have a look at that as well. That's Gutowski having a look, and it was Kwiatkowski in front, not Rochak. So Philip Koenig, well, he's in a bit of a battle at the moment everywhere he goes. Lucas Darlin still stuck behind Mike Quinn as well. This won't be an easy overtake for him to make. I am very surprised at the amount of runners we've got here on the soft compounded tyres. I thought it'd be bolt on the hards at the start and just deal with it and go to the end, but no, a lot of drivers going for a pit stop.
Yeah, 4 drivers went for the soft tyre. So Ivanov in 3rd at the moment, Filin in 7th, we see on screen. Gazowski, who we saw just get past Rapoli for 15th in the final point. And then Daniel Scott for Rookie Monsters down in 19th. And unfortunately, we have lost Tom Savalli from the race. So Victor Ivanov, the sole remaining MS Performance car, and he's got to get the most out of these softs now. Remember, Netrex, they work so closely with MS Performance, Harry Smith, the owner. How much are they going to fight Ivanov here, knowing that either the soft's going to be in difficulty later on if Ivanov doesn't pit, or he might have to make that pit stop anyways. Up the inside for 6th goes Filin, and round goes Magnussen.
Magnussen a half spin collects Thylin, who looked like he was going to make 2 positions there, and now maybe has damage. Does Magnussen have damage as well? Thylin will drop back into 8th, and that is not what he needed on that soft compound of rubber. Is Magnussen all okay in terms of car shape? That's dropped them even further back from the race leaders. and held up his teammate as well. Maybe he'll feel obligated to let Hamming through. The tires are overheating. Oh, goodness me. Robin Merling, what a move that was. Up into the Mobil 1 corner. Looking to the inside there was Russo, though. Got all sorts of out of shape and had to back out of it. And now holding up his teammate as well. But wow. This is already fireworks in the opening few laps of race 2 here at the Hockenheim ring. And it's anybody's guess what's going to happen over the next tour, because everywhere you look, there's drama, there's chaos. Lucchini's off the road, but still holding on to second place. Here's a replay. This is likely of that Magnussen moment. Indeed, it was. Let's see what happened if he just locked a wheel, maybe, or took a bit too much into the corner, so hits the brakes. Was it a tap from behind? It was a tap! Teammate on teammate! So actually, it was Hamming that just tapped the rear of Magnussen, which is why Hamming ran wide. And unfortunately for Luca Thailand...
Look at this!
Oh, goodness me!
Wide. And look at Mike Quinn just being swamped now as Andrzejewski goes round the outside of him. So this is not what the championship leader needed. And for Ivanov now, he's got a 4.5 second gap to Frank Hamming. So this has worked out perfectly for him, because if he can't get past the net wrecks, if he wants to set out the pits, he can just save tyres in that nearly 5 second gap that he has now. But Frank Hamming, now that HGP have done the swap, messily though they may have, Hamming should be able to lap quicker than Magnussen on the harder tyre at this phase. Yeah, Andrzejewski very opportunistic to take advantage of the concertina to go round the outside of Mike Quint. And Quint will be a little bit uneasy here, because now he's got to deal with Phylan once more on those soft tyres.
Absolutely. Quint's opening laps of race number 2 not quite going the same way as it did in race number 1. Only one DNF so far. Unfortunately, Tom Satherley DNFing from both races tonight. A real shame for him. As we continue with the action, can Thailand try and recover?
So he's Frank that gap to 4 seconds now. So Ivanov suddenly the saving strategy not looking quite so easy, because Hamming is lapping way faster than the leaders at the moment.
Yeah, Ivanov really needs to make a move on the Netrex guys at some point. He needs to create a big enough gap so that he can challenge for a strong enough position with that pit stop coming in. Dylan has a look on Quint, just poking a nose to the inside, but didn't follow it up with anything, so they hold position for the time being. But Mike Quint, yeah, he'll be looking to try and move forward at the moment, but up in front, Andrzejewski and Magnussen fighting. Magnussen really struggling for pace. Andrzejewski to the inside. That could have been a great move, but the door was open and shut fairly quickly. But that's given, wow, look at the run there from Mike Quinn, and he's had to back out of it because they're going into a corner that is so difficult to overtake down at Mobil 1 curve. And that could have been a great opportunity for Mike Quinn, but he decided to play it safe again. He knows he's fighting for championship points. It's better to finish in 7th than it is to DNF. I'm assuming that was his thought process at that moment in time. Of course, when you're fighting for a championship, there's moments you have to be super aggressive and get the moves done. But right now, it is better just to hold position and pick up strong points rather than risk it all and come into blows with another driver as Thailand to the outside. Quint squeezes him. The soft shot Thailand looking to make the move done. Of course, he will have to pit stop. I'm sure Quint will probably be smart enough to know that he should let Thailand through. It's not his race. Thailand's on the soft compounded tyres, needs to box. May as well let Thailand through, maybe try and follow him through on some moves. And indeed, I think that's what Quint is going to do. And indeed, he does. Lucas Thailand up into P7. This time, the overtake goes a lot less eventually than it does last time. We've got more contact down into... It was an area that was so clean in race 1. Who was that? I believe it was Rochak and Russo who got together. They're still coming to blows on the run into the Mercedes corner. They're still coming to blows as Rochak gets a tap from behind. Oh my goodness me, Lucchini gets through Kvilhagsvik. This is insane, Ed. It's basically kill or be killed out there. Everywhere you look, someone's searching for an accident, someone's searching for violence.
Yeah, Rozak just died from a long way back, and I think you might have accidentally tagged the wrong microphone there, Ross, getting your excitement. But anyway, this is looking... You were saying there Mike Quint just shouldn't fight with Luca Phylan. The problem is, in the Teams Championship, Netrex are looking at a 1-2 at the moment, and Ivanov is sort of coasting easy. He's trying to get these softs to the end, whereas the likes of Kozowski and Phylan might be pushing them a little bit harder to gain track position and maybe pit. And look at Phylan already attacking Andrzejewski for 6th into turn 2 there and almost assaulting him in the side, which will give Mike Quint something to look out for in front of him because he really doesn't want to clatter into them. But yeah, here we go. Luca Filin once more getting to the slipstream, opening the DRS, and this time he's got the run into turn 6, into the hairpin, and plenty of room there left by Andrzejewski. So electric progress made by Filin. Next target, Patrick Magnussen. What could go wrong, Ross? I can't think of anything.
It could be anyone's guess. You're right though, Ed. I got so excited I accidentally yanked the microphone cable out and didn't even notice. That's how chaotic it's been during the opening 8 laps of race number 2 here at the Hockenheim ring in Formula Sprint 1. There is still a handful of laps to go. Replay here. What's happened? What are we going to see? This is Rochak's. This is the instant we saw just moments ago. So Patrick Rosak for Parallax of Alpino goes to the inside. Oh, and I think, yeah, it was just unsighted, I think.
Monsters got tagged as well, Mulling. So Mulling was clear that minding his own business, and then he had 2 Alpha Deltas being bowled into him by Patrick Rosak there.
Yeah, I think just another racing incident there, just drivers unsighted, no one really at fault, and again, no one really had their race ruined by it. A little bit of contact, potentially some damage, but that seems to be it for the time being. Ivanov, meanwhile, is still stuck behind the Netrex, guys. I'm wondering if he's starting to try and go tyre saving mode to get this soft stint out as long as he possibly can. His last lap was actually slower than Harry Smith, but faster than Amari Watson's, but they were all lapping in the 22.1s. I know we're still early doors in this race, only lap 9 of 22, but I'm starting to think, is Victor Ivanov potentially regretting that decision to start on the soft compound of tyres? As Luca Federico Russo having a look to the inside of Merling there. Merling again, who'll be wanting a great result at his home race. Currently running in P9, the lead rookie Monsters car, having to deal with attacks from behind and trying to attack in front as well. Such is the nature of this chaotic reverse grid sprint race. Oh, Russo off into the gravel just a little bit. Doesn't hinder him too much as they head through the Sachs curve and all make their way through cleanly. Actually, I believe it may have been Merling that ran into the gravel because he dropped a little bit back and Theed it was. So Merling now under real pressure, maybe starting to feel the attacks from the Alpha Delta car behind. Runs wide once again, does the rookie Monsters machine. And Russo primed and ready for a DRS overtake down into turn 2. If not into turn 2, certainly in the hairpin, but look behind them as well. Here comes Rochak having a look. Russo to the inside, doesn't have anything of it. Touch behind from Rochak. Russo gets all sorts of out of shape. Now on to turn 4, the Parabolica DRS will be open once again. And Lucchini will be getting quadruple DRS down there. Such is the slipstream effect. Russo to the inside, trying to go 4 wide, at least 3 wide. Russo gets through, as does Rochak. And actually, that's Lucchini trying to get through Merling as well. Merling holds on to 10th place from Rochak, though. Oh, someone's round in the background. Oh, into the wall. Who's that?
It's Daniel Scott on the soft tyres. He was trying to make a move, I think, on Clont and Sellers. As look at this. Oh, and his teammate, Merling, just hits the side of Patrick Rosak, and now around the outside goes Lucchini as well. So a terrible few moments for rookie Monsters there. In terms of the soft tyre runners, Ivanov has just set a 122.1, and Luca finally set the fastest lap of the race on his softs, 121.4 in 5th. So that tells me Filin is pushing like crazy, and Ivanov is saving those tyres to try and get to the end. 12 laps to go.
Let's see what happened with Daniel Scott. Following round at the opening half of that, so around very, very wide, coming through turn number 1.
And Filin's in the pits, by the way.
So Lucas Thilen's in the pits. We'll cut to that in a minute. Here's Daniel Scott now coming into the hairpin. So what happened here? Just coming in, turns in. Oh, does Clont turn in? Yeah, just the slightest of touches. And it sends Daniel Scott round. Luckily holds onto his front wing, but I'm sure there'll be some damage there. That is a concrete wall. But just the lightest of touches, and round he goes. Luca Thielen, where has he come out? P20. So,
and on the hard tyres as well. Because there's no both tyre compound rule in race 2. As Andrzejewski loses a couple of positions fighting away with Magnussen there. But yeah, Filin has gone onto the hards rather than another set of softs, which he could have done. So that tells me he's worried about tyre life and was really struggling towards the end of that lap, and maybe felt it wasn't worth taking a big gamble there. But that consigns Luca Filin to maybe 15th if he's lucky here in the final point.
Well, we've got to remember he was stuck in dirty air quite a lot, and also had that half spin, so that probably would have chewed through his tyres. And again, we're at halfway point of this race. We're expecting in race 1 the pit stop window for the soft runner speed from lap 10 to 14, so he still made it into that pit stop window, but yeah, clearly just worried about making it to the end of the race. For Luca Thielen, certainly the gamble to go into softs has not worked. Victor Ivanov hasn't boxed yet from his softs, but hasn't managed to get through the Netrex guys. Oh, goodness me! A big off for Magnussen. Into the wall, manages to keep, or did he save it? Magnussen has a huge slide in the front end bites. He's able to keep going. He'll drop down to P14. But Patrick Magnussen with a huge moment down at turn number 1, fighting his way back up to 13th as they go. But he'll have DRS onslaught from behind. I wonder if he's got damage. Going super defensive. Oh, goodness me, this could end in tears. Or 3 wide. Here we go, Raboli to the inside. Magnussen goes deep, Raboli locks up, touches Magnussen. And they all hold on to the positions they were in. Koenig slides through, Magnussen 14th. Now we see Raboli under real pressure from Klont as they head into the Mercedes arena. Klont to the inside. Oh, almost contact. Klont actually had to avoid Raboli there as Raboli swept on through, was not letting him through whatever. Patrick Magnussen has gone from hero to 0 in half a lap. What a shame for the HGP driver. That's allowed Andrzejewski up into 5th place. But what happened there? So here's Patrick Magnussen coming through turn number 1. Did he just hook a curb?
Oh, just too much.
Curb. Yeah, too much curb down at turn 1. Just kept it out of the wall. Wow, that is lucky. That is lucky for Patrick Magnussen, but just too much curb at turn 1. Tried to catch it, and then the front end bit and sent him round. It can be quite windy down at turn 1, which does not help. But that's a real shame for Patrick Magnussen. And well, from 5th place down into 14th. Not the way he wanted his race to go, but crucially kept it out of the barrier. Crucially, he's still in it.
Indeed he is. So he had great presence of mind. He was immediately fighting away with Koenig once he got the car facing in the right direction. So fair play to Magnussen. And now Klont has another go at Raboli, this time at the hairpin. He desperately wants that final point. There's Menno Klont, but he goes way too deep. And now Bradley Sellers in the Lunark might gobble him up here if they go downhill towards turn 7. So Menno is just really looking a bit desperate here, as he knows this is not looking good for Multiforce in the team's championship. With Quint only in 6th, he's been able to get himself back ahead of Russo, of course, Mike Quint. And of course, with Thielen making that pit stop, that's worked well for him as well. Ivanov, though, still lapping very similarly to all the hard tyre runners around him, so he is conserving those tyres. And he's not looked at all like attacking the 2 Netrexes in front of him. Hamming has closed the gap to 2.5 seconds behind, so yeah, Frank Hamming might have had tyres in better condition, but Ivanov, he can just keep doing what he's doing. I think he's looking good for 3rd, and that will put him 3 places ahead of Mike Quint, which will absolutely redress some of the damage that was done in race 1 to the championship challenge there, as Raboli is going into the pits.
Yeah, Massimiliano Raboli dives in. I don't think we'll be far off seeing Victor Ivanov coming in as well, who's still
Raboli was on the hards, so
that's interesting. Maybe Raboli had some damage or just wasn't happy with something. Very interesting.
Absolutely under attack from Menno Klont, wasn't he? And look, Luke Mitchell now has a go at Owen Kilhausvik, who's running in a best ever 11th, but not for much longer, because Luke Mitchell, the reigning FS2 champion, gets a great run out of the hairpin, and he's going to be alongside the 100-1, and Kilhausvik will have the inside into turn 8 in Mercedes-Benz Arena here, but he goes a little bit deep, and Luke Mitchell's going to try to hang it round the outside. They just about avoid contact. Owen thinks better of it. Luke Mitchell up to a lip.
Yeah, lovely stuff there from Luke Mitchell. I was just going to say before we cut to this battle further back, is there's a yellow flag out in sector number 2. Hamming's actually starting to close in to the back of Ivanov and the Netrex cars. So I wonder if Hamming maybe has a bit of pace on board. Let's look at the lap times. Last lap, Harry Smith set his personal best at 21.8. Victor Ivanov was the slowest out of the front 3, and Hamming was faster than every single one of them, a low 21.8. So Hamming right now is the driver with the pace at the front, but does have the time to catch up to the likes of Watson, Smith, and Ivanov, who still has not boxed. So I wonder if Ivanov has realised that the softs is not the way to go and is just going for an ultra tyre saving strat, trying desperately to make it to the end. If he finishes where he does, he will close back up in the Drivers' Championship to Mike Quint. He'll be getting 15 points, while Quint, currently down in P6, will only be getting 10, so it'll be back to a 33-point gap. The Race 1 championship difference will be null and void in terms of the drivers, And what's a replay of here? This is Jonas Karula coming into the Sachs curve. What's happened for the Kings Racing driver, the sole Kings Racing driver in this one, or just catches the AstroTurf and runs a little bit off the racetrack. Able to keep it out of the barrier though. Some cool Lightning McQueen looking drifts onto the grass there for Karula, but has he decided that that is enough? I believe he has. As Daniel Scott, what's happened to the rookie Monsters driver as well as he heads into the Mercedes arena? Too much speed, catches the camber of the corner awkwardly, and then trying to save it, touches the grass and loops it round, drops him a few positions. So Scott, another spinner there.
That was violent, just avoiding him there as well on his first set of hard compound tyres. Final lapping in the 121 freeze, by the way. So faster than a lot of the people in front of him, but he's got way too much ground to make up. 6.3 seconds into Bradley's, or 4.2 seconds, I should say, given the way he's closing. But yeah, even off here, this is still working out well for him, because even if Frank Hammond gets through, he's still going to gain on Mike Quint here. But the DRS from the Netrex cars, it feels like they've chosen to work with him here rather than fight, and Ivanov's decided to benefit from that DRS and stay behind rather than fighting his two Netrex buddies here. So it definitely feels like there's a little bit of team camaraderie at play, although I'm sure if Harry Smith made a mistake, Ivanov would just slide up the inside without needing an invitation, that's for sure.
6 laps left to run in this one. Mike Quint still tailing the Volpino car of Andrzejewski, just unable to negotiate his way through at the moment. Andrzejewski is a long way behind Frank Hamming, who's been turning up the pace over the last couple of laps. So Quint, realistically, the best place he can get is 5th, although, again, if he finishes where he does, and Ivanov finishes where he does, they leave this round with the same gap in the championship as they entered it. So no real damage done either way. I'm sure Quint would like to get another place, because the racer in him wants to get another place, and a couple more points as well, I'm sure. Oh, running a little bit wide there. Mike Quint missed the apex. Again, he did like to take a wider line through turn number 2. Seen a few drivers preferring that this evening. Here at the 10th round of the 2024 GPVWC Formula Sprint 1 racing. And, well, we'll see if he's able to make his way through. But right now, just unable to make it happen. Here is Massimiliano Riboli trying to make his way through Scott. Indeed he does, with the DRS down into turn 2. Nice and easy. But of course he'll have to suffer the counter effects of Scott with the slipstream and the DRS coming into the Parabolica. So maybe that wasn't the greatest move for Riboli to pull, as Scott starts to bring in the speed. Does he bring in the overtake as well? Looks to the inside, but a little bit too far back. So Riboli's got away with it that time, as Scott, a big half spin there. Massively lost the rear of the car coming into the corner. Maybe just locked to rear or something heading into it. We're at that phase of the race head where tyre wear really starting to become a critical factor. You're starting to see a lot of the drivers, a lot of the cars just moving around on the racetrack. Now it's more about keeping it on the black stuff to the end.
Yeah, Daniel Scott has not pit, and he's done 16 laps on tyres that have done at least 2 spins. So yeah, they're not in the greatest condition. Whereas Riboli pit fairly recently, 3 laps ago, for from the hards onto the softs. He's the only one who did that. But all the people who started on softs, with the exception of Ivanov, have visited the pit lane then. So those who started on the hards have sort of ended up profiting quite significantly. But Mike Quinton, has he kept the hards alive for this moment to the outside of Andrzejewski? Andrzejewski forces him right to the outside, and Russo just arrives slightly too late to take advantage then. But Quint gets a good exit here. Andrzejewski looking very vulnerable, the Polish driver in the builds in Volpino then. Can Mike Quint snatch away 5th position? He breaks super late into Mercedes corner, and that's job done then. He's got the move completed on the outside. Fantastic bravery on the brakes from Mike Quint.
Lovely stuff from the championship leader. Makes up 1 position, and crucially gets him a couple more points as well. Well, 1 more point, but still 1 more point in the championship fight means if they finish as they do on lap 18 of 22, the gap will be 34 points back to Ivanov as they leave this round of the championship. Owen Hauksvig, meanwhile, doing a good job holding off Luke Mitchell.
Got back ahead of Luke Mitchell as well.
Yeah, has got back ahead of Luke Mitchell. In fact, yellow flag was briefly out in sector 2, but looks to be all clear. Someone maybe just running a little bit wide out of one of the corners. But Phil Hauksvig, yeah, he's had a good evening, I'd say, in the 100 to 1 car. Had some strong races, picking up some strong points as well. I'm pretty sure he'll be satisfied with that one, but it's not done yet. It's lap 19 and 22, still a couple of laps left to run, and still potentially pressure from behind. But at this stage of the race, it's who has got the tyres, and especially looking up at the front, look at Hamming, less than a second away from Ivanov now, and crucially less than a second away from the Netrex cars as well. Frank Hamming is in prime position to maybe bring on a late challenge for this race.
Yeah, Mike Quinn also setting personal best laps of the race, 10th quicker than Frank Hamming. Unfortunately, he's 5.1 seconds down the road, so there's very little that Mike Quinn can do. His charge has come just that little bit too late. And yeah, Hamming, because he was able to clear Magnussen quite quickly due to what might have been team or might have just been Frank Hamming after tapping him out of the way, Magnussen just decided not to fight as much and then later made that mistake. But of course, Ivanov then is going to be vulnerable here, lapping in the 121.8 last time round, actually, so he's starting to be held up a bit here by Smith and Watson. And now Frank Hamming fancies yet another podium this season, as we see Patrick Rozak being disqualified from 8th position there. Oh dear, so he must have been cutting the track and maybe he didn't serve a driver in time, or potentially there was some other infringement going on there, but that's a big shame for Wilson Volpino. A lot of points gone down the drain there. But look, here comes Hamming looking closer than ever, and he's got 2 more laps to steal a podium away from Victor Ivanov. It's going to be quite a tough job, but Ivanov looking more vulnerable than he has in a while. Potentially lap
20 of 22. Does Frank Hamming fancy a podium? Well, of course he fancies a podium, but does he have what it takes to get on to the podium? We are soon to be on the penultimate lap of this race, and Hamming's late race pace has been phenomenal. Luke Mitchell actually has been overtaken by Patrick Magnussen, who's working his way back through the field after that monster spin at turn 1 earlier on, and is doing a great job. Both HGP cars with a lot of pace in this race number 2. Unfortunately, one of them is fighting for a podium and potentially a win. The other one fighting for a top 10 place now. Nice stuff from Hamming, or from Magnussen, should I say, to get up into P11. Hamming, meanwhile, has got 2 laps to go to try and get onto the podium. There is some traffic ahead, but right now, it's the penultimate lap of the race. Does Hamming have what it takes? He'll have a great battle DRS. Look at the rears protesting at the wear as they punch their way out of turn 2 into the DRS Parabolica curve we go. Here comes Hamming, gaining 290 kilometers an hour, 295 surely, pulls to the inside. Does he have what it takes? Hamming up the inside at the hairpin, gets a bit squirrely in the exit, but Frank Hamming slides on through, but the move may not be done yet because Ivanov is still with him, but tucks in behind. Does he try go to the inside? Yes he does. Does he brake later than Hamming? Yes he does. They touch wheels. Hamming into a half spin, but manages to hold it. He'll still have the inside line. Frank Hamming nearly sideways, still on the inside coming into the Mobile 1 curve, and crucially, still in 3rd place. What a move by Frank Hamming, almost ended in disaster, but the HGP driver is up onto the podium as the final lap beckons.
Yeah, I wondered why Ivanov didn't defend so much into the hairpin. He sort of left plenty of room on the inside and then fought up into turn 7 and 8. But I think the tyres are just gone on that MS Performance car. And now Mike Quinn has actually got a small chance on the final lap of relieving him of 4th place. But that really, it still was worth it for Ivanov, even in 4th, because he still is going to gain a point. Maybe not as many points as he would have thought, but he's still going to gain a point. And Hamming now, that defensive job from Ivanov means that Smith and Watson are going to hold on to that 1-2 because he's not going to close a 1.3 second gap in the time left, as Magnussen trying to steal away Owen Kilhausvik's what would be his first ever top 10 as he gets very close into turn 2, and Kilhausvik will have to defend really well into the hairpin here to stop the HGP from stealing what would be an amazing result. Ben Constantine watching this just between the gaps in his fingers as he covers his eyes. Here comes Magnussen to the inside, and he's going to clear him with DRS before they reach the hairpin, surely. But Kilhausvik tucks in. How late will he be on the brakes as they're going 3 wide in the background? Is that Filin? Got himself back into the points either side of him. Oh, it's getting messy here between Mitchell, Filin and Koenig, and it looks like Filin has cleared both of them on those fresh hard tyres.
Not the cleanest of overtakes, but effective nonetheless. Dylan back up into 13th after that pit stop earlier on. But that could have ended in disaster, but it hasn't ended in disaster. for these guys. For the first time, it's a race win this year for Netrex Grand Prix, and Amari Watson, he takes victory in race number 2 here at the Hockenheim ring. It's a 1-2 for Netrex Grand Prix as Frank Hamming completes the podium. What a drive by the Netrex drivers, Watson and Smith, doing the team proud, doing themselves proud, and a well-deserved first win of the season for the team. First win of the season for Amari Watson. They will be ecstatic about that one. As Ivanov finishes in 4th, Mike Quint finishes in 5. That means the championship gap sits at 36 points, leaving this one in Quint's favour. Further back, Andrzejewski was in 6th, Russo 7th, Lacini 8th, Merling 9th. And Magnussen just about held on to P10. Phil Haugsvig robbed of that 10th place finish right at the death. A real shame for him, but a drive that the Dane can be proud of. The Norwegian, should I say, can be proud of nonetheless. As Daniel Scott looks to be the last driver to finish on the road. 3 DNFs in Raboli, Karula and Sadali. Unfortunately, Rojak was disqualified. We're not sure why that was. We believe it was potentially for cut tracks and then failing to serve a drive-through penalty, which is a real shame for him. But nonetheless, it was a fantastic, fantastic race too. A bit more chaotic than race number 1, I think it should be said, but one that was thoroughly enjoyable. What a great evening of racing we've had here, Ed. Just brilliant from start to finish.
Yeah, absolutely a fantastic pair of races, although the main battle was really just sort of a third onwards in this one. The two Netrexes, it was clear Smith and Watson weren't challenging each other, and Ivanov was more worrying about his tyres than the two cars in front of him, and in the end, Hamming just had enough to catch at the end there, and all the drama was really behind with Magnussen getting into all sorts of issues, but still recovering up to 10th. And to put 100 to 1 season in perspective, going into today, they had 3 points. Coming out of today, Remco Hausvik is on a total of, I believe, 12 points, having gained a full 9 from both races put together there. So that really shows how much 100 to 1 have profited today. And who knows, maybe they can keep this up. Rookie monsters might be looking over their shoulder, although Mulling did a solid job at least to stay out of trouble here and get 9th position. But yeah, the full credit's got to go to Amari Watson, who's waited since Monza Race 2 last season to get that first win. And Netrex, who Amari did say to me, he sent me a message saying, it's going to be so hard to win this season. I said, don't worry, you keep it up, you'll get it. And look what's happened. He stuck at it, and he got the draw he needed as, massive crash into turn 1 in the background. But never mind, it's too late. The damage is done in the championship. Netrex very much on top.
Absolutely. What a performance from those guys, and what a race it was. Amari Watson takes the victory, a 1-2 for Netrex with Harry Smith in P2. Frank Hamming does a great job to squeeze onto the podium late in the race with Victor Ivanov, our race 1, or not our race 1 winner, should I say, our pole sitter in race 1 in P4. Race 1 winner, Mike Quint, was P5 with Pavel Andrzejewski in 6th. Federico Russo with 7th with Mirko Lacini in 8th. Robin Merling was 9th, and Patrick Magnussen, after that big spin early doors, he managed to recover to 10th. A great drive from him, regardless of the error that sent him out into the wilderness at turn 1. Owen Phil Haugsvik was 11th with Menno Klont in P12. Lucas Stylin recovered to 13th after deciding that the soft compound was not for him. Philip Koenig was 14th with Luke Mitchell in P15. Mateusz Kozowski was 16th. David DeVries was 17th. Bradley Sellers 18th. And Daniel Scott was 19th. And the last of our finishing drivers, Massimiliano Raboli, unfortunately, was a DNF from Pixelate Esports. A real shame for him, was having a solid evening. We also lost Eunice Karula, Tom Savally, and Patrick Roshak was disqualified from race 2's event. So a real shame for them guys there. But man, oh man, what a day of racing we have just had. And I say we get down to interviewing some drivers after what has been an absolutely chaotic evening of racing. We'll start by dragging in our race 2 winner, Amari Watson. Amari, your first race win of the season, Netrex's first race win of the season. You've got to be delighted with that.
We are over the moon. We've worked so hard this season, and we've had some bad luck along the way. We've had some good luck along the way, and definitely had some good luck here, considering what happened in race 1 to get the reverse grid pole anyway. So I'm grateful. I'm happy. We're going to celebrate me and Harry. It's a brilliant 1-2. They don't come around every day, so we have to celebrate them while they're here.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's been a tough season for you guys because you've had some great results. You're still leading the Constructors' Championships. You know, you're both very high up in the Drivers' title race, but for some reason, the wins have just eluded you guys. So do you think maybe a win for you now will kind of maybe unlock the team, give you that edge that you've been looking for?
That's a difficult question. I think, yes, we've had good results, but we can do better. When we look at I spun in the pit lane in China. I'm stalled on the grid at Barcelona, starting from P3. When you look at things like that, then you have to say, you know, we haven't maximized what we've had this season. But yes, we're in a great position. Like I said before, they don't come around often. And when they do come around, we've got to be happy and we've got to celebrate. So wins have eluded us. And I was saying to Ed, we cannot win the Constructors title without winning a race. So I'm glad we've got that monkey off our back, and it's going to be a fight to the end of the season. Congratulations to Mike as well and the rest of the podium guys in race 1 and 2. And also I'd like to say publicly an apology to Russo for what happened in race 1. That's all on me.
Well, that's very gracious of you, Mari, because there are quite a few moments into the hairpin, so I think Federico will probably forgive you for that one. But
so then, Amari, heading into the next round at Spa, what's the feeling for the team heading into that one? You know, you feeling confident again now you've got the race one under your belt? You're looking for another good result?
We all like Spa. Every driver, you're not on planet Earth if you don't like Spa as a driver. We all like Spa, so yes, we're going to enjoy it, but it's a long old season and I just can't wait for the break, to be honest. So we're going to work hard again next couple of weeks, get ready for Spa, and then look forward to my summer holidays and away from this country as well. So, yeah, we're looking forward to Spa. Business as usual, as I see.
Oh, that's awesome stuff. Congratulations, Amari, and thank you very much for talking to us.
Appreciate the job you guys do. Thank you, and take care.
We wouldn't be doing the job if the drivers weren't out there doing it themselves. Let's speak to his teammate and the man who finished second in that Nerex 1-2, Harry Smith. Harry, a second place, the team's first win, a 1-2 for you guys as well. We just spoke to Amari and he seemed delighted. You've got to be very happy with that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic result, but I mean, obviously, we'd rather the result come in race 1. That's what I'm going to say, but we've got work to do still. Mike scored big points in race 1, so we sort of had to make up the points in race 2, and we did so. We just got to keep doing that. I don't know what the total comes out in the Constructors, but if we want to win the Constructors, we need to start putting more wins on the board. So,
yeah, 1-2 is worth 37 points, and 5th, I'm pretty sure, is only worth about 12 points. so you can do the math there. That's almost double.
We had a bit of a gap, and now we didn't. They were ahead of us after Austria, I believe, and we just need to keep working away. And it's a long season with a lot of hard tracks coming up in Baku, Singapore. A lot can go wrong there. So yeah, just got to keep working away the same way we have been doing, and the results go.
Absolutely.
Harry,
sorry. So go ahead, Ed, please.
I was going to say about today, race 1, Harry. You were pretty strong in qualifying, just missed out on pole position, and then it looked like towards the end of that first stint on the soft tyres, you were really struggling to keep them alive. And then once you got on the hards, you were a lot stronger. Would that be fair to say?
I mean, yes and no. I wouldn't say I was a lot stronger on the hards. I was just able to keep up with the train, and then Tom lost the position, and then I gained a bit of a gap, and then that was it. I mean, my weakness has always been tyre management, something that I have worked hard to try and improve, but it's not always easy. And yeah, it's at least it's a target for me to work on, but equally, Mike and Frank at the end of the stints, they're always faster. Not just me, but even Victor as well, who's much better on the tyres than me. So it's something we need to look at and see if it's something we're missing or what, and just see if we can work on it and make our car a bit better for the race, maybe.
You said Victor Ivanov very good on the tyres. We saw a very visual illustration of that once again in race 2, where he did what he always seems to do, where he keeps the soft tyres alive for extended periods of time and very, very nearly finished on the podium, if not for Frank Hamming just getting him right near the end. Were you at all worried about Victor, or did you think he would work with you rather than fight against you in race 2?
I mean, I am kind of quote unquote the team owner of MS Performance, so I wasn't particularly worried, to be honest. But I mean, if he knew he had to keep the tires under control in the race, so I think he saw it best to stay behind us and not fight. Because if he starts to fight us, then he's just gonna burn his tires. And I mean, we were quite lucky they crashed behind us, so we were able to sit there, conserve, just work at our own pace. And then when Frank caught us, I mean, as long as we stayed in the train, he doesn't have much hope of getting past all of us so late in the race. So, Victor's the GOAT anyway. So he's one of my best mates. So I'm not worried at all about.
I did say that you two were close in the broadcast, so it's great to hear confirmation of that, because I assumed you just knew and worked together for a long time. Doesn't necessarily mean people are friends, but it's great to hear.
Yeah. We even share the same birthday, not the same year. There's quite a large difference than that, but
of course, Harry.
Nice little Easter egg. But anyway, I'll let you get on and talk to some other people that are waiting.
Congrats! I'm sure your win will come soon, Harry.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Missed chances. I've finished second a few times now, but I wouldn't say I had particularly good chance at winning any of them apart from Jeddah Race 2. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But thank you. And thanks for commenting the race. I'll let you get on.
All right, cheers, Harry. Right, so as we let Harry Smith leave the commentary box, there's one more waiting to be interviewed. And who else but 100 to 1's Owen Kilhausvik. So, Owen Kilhausvik joins us now after best ever personal results, not just to himself, but for Ben Constantine's 100 to 1 team of 12th in race 1, followed up by 11th in race 2. The only tiny thing is he just had the top 10 stolen away from him by Patrick and Magnussen on the final lap then. So, Owen, you've more than doubled yours and the team's points total today. So I know you would have been desperate for that top 10 near the end, but all the same, 11th is still a fantastic result. And you got 12 points out of today to add to the 3 that you got in Austria. So that really is a fantastic day for 100 to 1.
Yeah, hey guys. I did really, really want that top 10, just to say that I got a top 10 in this season so far. But I didn't think too badly of it. I'm just like proud, kind of. The improvement so far this season has been so cool to witness. Like everyone was joking like we would never get points, never even finish a race in the beginning. And I'm looking at the rear of a top 10 finish, and I had so much fun today. Seeing that and being on pace and fighting and seeing the improvements come.
Yeah, I think that you raise a good point there, because as much as there were people, new team on the block 100 to 1 in the third tier of GPV in FS1, and everyone was seeing those lists of DNFs for both drivers and thinking that, like you say, that there'd never be any points. But I think there was kind of an underdog status that was attached to the team. And you always see it every race, loads of people cheering for 100 to 1, cheering for you specifically as well. And given that there's no other 100 to 1s to cheer for at the moment, but of course, but yeah, great to hear. You say you're really enjoying the improvements. What do you think is making the difference? Is it just more track time? You're getting more and more confident as you adapt to this car, or are there any hints and tips that you're picking up along the way as well?
I think mostly the tires, like seeing how they react and seeing how to make them actually last the race. And, I've gotten more track time, and with that, the pace just comes a bit more naturally. I mean, for a while, I was continuously thinking in what was it, 2022, that was prime me. But right now I think I'm past that. I think I'm faster now, And Menno has been helping me ever since Austria, and it's been basically a coach. And it's having that. It's also been so motivating because like I want these points more now. I have someone who is watching me kind of, and yeah, it's big thanks to him. Like ever since I've kind of worked with him. I've been doing race simulations and having actual plans for the races. I didn't have that in the beginning, but I've learned so much from him and tips and all that. So, like a lot of the improvement comes from practicing with him and hearing what he has to say.
Yeah, I suppose Menno is teaching you how to beat him specifically, because I think he did that in both races today.
Yeah.
As well as being the likes of Luke Mitchell, of course, last season's FS2 champion. You had a great fight with him for quite a lot of race 2 as well. What would you say was your favorite battle that you had today in the field?
I was having a lot of fun. I was stressing out actually in the race, but I was with Riboli for most of race 1. Or like the second part of it, and I see these guys in my mirror past Riboli, or like he was right behind me, and behind him were guys on softs, I believe, on the different on the other strategy.
Yeah, Koenig, yes.
Yeah, and they were on the rear of him, on the back of him, and trying to get past. I was just keeping Rivoli in my DRS just to help him out a bit so that those guys can't get past, and it worked out pretty well. And those guys they caught up to me in the end, I think, but they didn't pass me. So I think strategically that was pretty well done by me, and it was fun to see that work out. But yeah, me and Rivoli, we were fighting as well before that, but I try to work a little bit with them at the end there.
It's good to see all the less experienced FS1 drivers pitching in as well. So great to see all that. Well, I say teamwork, but it's different teams, isn't it? So you haven't really got a teammate, so you got to take what you can get, I guess. But final word, Owen. Of course, obviously things have been going really well lately. Next round, Spa. How are you feeling about that?
Spa, I love Spa as a track. This is the only track of all of these races that I've actually been to. So, how I'm going to perform or how good I am at that track, I'm a bit unsure. It's a big track, a lot of corners to learn with this car. And yeah, I don't know. I just hope it goes as well as this. I can't really say how much confidence I have right now with it, with that track in this car.
Fair enough. Well, I'm sure there's plenty of time still to prepare, but I must be said, and apart from a lot of the top runners fighting for the championship, you always seem to be the most popular driver in the chat. So I'm sure they've loved hearing from you. They've loved watching you drive. And I must say, it's brilliant seeing you going from scoring your first point to now getting a whole heap of them and almost getting inside the top 10. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of you in the future.
I'm aiming for that.
Right. Thank you very much, Owen. So as we let Ben Constantine's favourite new driver leave the commentary box for us, I think it's time to close off the broadcast then, reflect on race wins for Mike Quint and Amari Watson today for the first time this season.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you, Ed, as always, for being alongside me. Pleasure. You always do a great job. So
likewise, Ross, likewise.
So yeah, a great race. It must be, or a great pair of races this evening at the Hockenheim. Just GPVWC at its brilliant best. Thank you very much for joining us in this one for the 10th round of the 2024 GPVWC Formula Sprint 1 season. Of course, there's still plenty more GPVWC to come. Next week, we've got the Super Lights and the Super League at the Hockenheim. The Formula Sprint 1, give it 2 weeks, and we'll be back for the final race before the summer break as we head to Spa-Francorchamps. Take care, and we'll see you then.